Okay. Publish. Hopefully, I'll do the job. Let's see if it works. Good. Seems to be okay. Let's just check the other link. Good. So, welcome to the laboratory. Hopefully, people will start turning up shortly. This place, let me just show you around. People will come to this in different orders. It's a bit of a mess. Yeah, but down here in the corner, I've got the mass spec running, which hopefully. Hey, JR.
Hey, how's it going?
Can you hear too much of a hum?
A bit. It's not that bad.
Okay, cool. That's the mass spectrometer down here in the corner.
Okay.
And that means that here I've actually got the mass spectrum of air coming through. That's actually being measured in real time. So 28, that's the nitrogen, that's the oxygen, and that's the carbon dioxide. That's on a logarithmic scale at the moment. So they all look like.
Yeah, the carbon dioxide looks a little exaggerated considering how small a proportion of the atmosphere it is.
Right, that's because it's actually on a log scale over here in the corner.
Yeah, that's what. As soon as you said log scale, I understood. I understood why. It's like a what's it called? I used to do these graphs all the time that use a logarithmic scale in my electronics class.
Yeah. So this is what it looks like with the non-log scale. I mean, because
I can't see it. It's just blanked. It's just blanked to me.
There you go.
Oh, I see. There it is.
So there's your nitrogen, your oxygen, and everything else barely registers. I mean, I can sort of tweak the scale a little bit, but.
Well, I don't have a mass spectrometer here, but I do have a Bowser emoji.
Hey!
No, not emoji, amiibo.
What the hell's an amiibo?
Have you heard of the Nintendo Wii? Wii U, rather?
Yes.
These are you can buy these little figurines of different characters. I got a few of them here. I use them as props when I teach. Sometimes, sometimes I'll play a video and then the video will cut out and it'll come back to me and it'll just be this instead of me.
Okay, I've got not quite the next best thing, but hang on, just give me one second.
Is that Snope?
That was Snope. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
So, these I got in the sort of bargain basement thing, and I decided at some point I was going to burn them.
Burn them?
I'm working on this microjet flamethrower. And if you've got a microjet flamethrower, you need something to point them at. And
I guarantee someone's gonna take you melting that Rose figure out of context, and they're gonna say that you're sexist.
Yeah, it wasn't just enough to hate women; he had to burn them as well, or burn figures of women to show how much he hates them. Even though,
like poor Laughing Witch, another woman you chase off the internet because you're just such a big bag sexist.
Yeah, but I mean, this was just such an abomination of a film.
Yeah, it was so disappointing. Nothing that any of the characters did ended up mattering.
Yeah, and okay, it's not. It's the fact that the script was so shite. But she, in the end, right, there's the guy about to make the heroic sacrifice that might possibly buy them all another half hour of life before they charge the weapon and fire it again, or get the spare down from the spaceship. And she not only crashes her ship into another guy's ship, which in all likelihood would have just killed them both outright.
Yeah.
And then they sort of say it's about the ones, saving the ones that we love. just as everyone in the background is
He's about to die.
And he's like, what? I mean, look, I can forgive all of the things that are bad, like, you know, the incredibly slow-moving bombers, the poo-poo-poo sounds in space, all this sort of thing. It's forgivable as long as you've got a good story. The problem was that when people start doing things that just doesn't make any sense, then you got a problem.
And the only main human character that they haven't killed off is the one character whose actor has now passed away.
So Carrie Fisher's dead in reality. Harrison Ford died in the movie. Luke they killed off.
He died in the last one.
Yeah.
The effort of projecting himself to fight his former student caused him to disappear.
Yeah, although peculiarly, whilst he vanishes into the Force, his metallic hand doesn't. There's this sort of thing, very romantic. He vanishes like Obi-Wan, apart from his metal hand doesn't sort of go clunk to the hand.
Yeah, exactly. Where did the hand go? Did he take it? He doesn't get his. He took his metal hand with him. He didn't get it back. His old hand.
A lot of sins in that movie.
Did CinemaSins ever do that one? I don't remember.
Everyone has done that one.
I know, honestly.
And the thing is that quite often the people bitching about the movie goes on longer than the movie. but it's one of those things that it's actually fairly entertaining to watch just how bad it was in places.
I don't know. I'm not a particularly big Star Wars fan. You know, I'm a casual Star Wars viewer. I've seen all the movies, but I haven't seen the TV series. And I haven't seen. I've never seen any of the movies more than twice.
But the thing is, the original trilogy were fantastic, and everything else has just been riding on that, waiting for the franchise killer. And there have been similar ones like that. Yeah, Predator had an awesome first film.
Get to the chopper.
Exactly.
I just saw the latest one. It was a mediocre sci-fi action flick. You know, it wasn't horrible, but it was just kind of lame, and it was they really like bigged up what it is to have autism and to make it seem much better than it is.
Yes, have autism and fight space aliens.
No, more like have autism and fall down all the time.
Oh, all right. I didn't get to that bit, but I saw the little kid wearing the Predator mask, and it's like, wow, autistic kids can wear Predator masks.
Yeah, and then blow up houses of jerks.
Well, not only that, I thought Predator's vision was in the infrared.
Yeah, so how does he see it?
Exactly.
Maybe they're just implying that they see like we do, but well, no, because I think they showed it they still showed the Predator's POV when he wasn't wearing his helmet.
Yeah, and it's
it still looks like an infrared translated to visual light.
Yeah. So that's another thing I've been musing about doing is bad science in good movies or bad science in bad movies, because there's plenty of both to go around.
Well, what did you think of the science in Interstellar?
I've not actually seen it.
It seems pretty good, except towards the end where he transports. Do you want me to spoil it for you?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, he uses a black hole to transport himself into a tesseract that exists in his daughter's bookshelf and finds and communicates to his daughter through love or something.
That sounds very lame. I'm not sure about the science of communicating with people via love, but
oh,
hello.
Oh, wow.
Hey.
Hi.
So I'm curious. I've only just noticed. I think they have some electric.
Force link.
I've got no
Force
idea.
link.
I'm going to guess that it's some sort of electronic gizmo that you buy, and it says words from the movie or some shit. But I just bought them because they were in the bar. Sorry.
Maybe it's with NFC.
Maybe. So eventually I'll get around to seeing what's the most effective microjet fuel to burn Star Wars figures.
What's with the soundproofing squares on your tiles on your wall? Is it just decorative? Because they're not. It's looks ineffective since you have every other spot uncovered.
So initially, I was going to do more filming in here, which is why they're all over the place.
Yeah. Does it help? Does it dampen the sound at all when it's just only covering a small area?
Hugely. So when there's nothing in this room, it's hugely echoey.
Yeah, I can tell.
And when you got pumps and all sorts of other things going, it's better than it would be otherwise, but not greatly.
I teach. You remember I told you I'm an English teacher now. While I'm waiting for a new full-time role to accept me. But because I work on China time, I have to do it early in the morning and on the weekdays, and then late at night on Friday and Saturday evenings, because that's Saturday and Sunday morning in China. And the walls here are super thin. Like I can hear every footstep that my neighbor makes.
That's horrible.
Yeah, so I wake. Yeah. So I even if I try talking in a quiet voice, I still hear that I've woken them up because I can hear them move and get out of bed. So I wake them up an hour earlier than they have to.
Yeah.
Because and the worst part is my upstairs neighbor. She works for my leasing office.
Awkward.
I was planning on not renewing my contract, but I'm probably still going to be looking for a job for the next couple of months. So I might as well renew the contract one more time. And then I was thinking of keeping it up because, like I said, I can do it in my off hours before I go to work. I can use that to help make up some of the money I've lost over this past year. But I mean, it's only going to be like another $1,000 to $1,200 a month, and I'm probably going to be making about $4,000 to $5,000 a month. But hey, it's something.
Yeah, that's respectable.
Yeah, but yeah, I do get tired of having to wake up at 5:30 every morning, going to bed at 9. I haven't gone to bed at 9 p.m. Since I was in the fourth grade.
Yeah. California is not as bad as, but the thing is, once you get down to the equator, you don't get this thing that you get in the more northern latitudes, like you get in Europe, where it doesn't get light till in England. Christ, it doesn't really get light till 9 o'clock, and it can get it dark again at 4.
Well, yeah, I'm down here at 30 degrees latitude, but I'm not in California anymore. I actually live in Maryland now. I've been here. Yeah. After I remember I was in China so I just applied to a job anywhere and I wound up in Maryland. Unfortunately, it didn't last very long, so now I'm here and away from my family, but I am looking for a new job around here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Maryland.
Maryland. It's not actually pronounced Maryland.
Maryland is better.
Yeah, I live in Maryland.
But yeah, what do I remember about it? I remember the traffic in Europe.
Yeah, I live near DC. The traffic is really bad.
The interstates everywhere, no matter what time of day it is. I remember it getting dark, and it was just a solid line of red lights ahead of you. They're all moving forwards, 50 miles an hour or whatever. But it was just solid traffic, no matter where you went.
I'm interviewing for a job that's exactly 17 miles away from where I currently live. I'm still going to have to leave at least an hour before work because the traffic is just so bad in the morning.
Yeah.
Assuming I get the job. It's a very difficult. Interviewing is the worst part, and this is a particular field that's very difficult to interview in because I'm a network engineer, but there's 50 quadrillion different technologies you have to be proficient in as a network engineer.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good at general routing and switching, but every single job is pretty much specialized in the one thing. So I have to figure out what technology they're using and try to figure out enough to be able to answer questions competently, and then hope I pick it up while I'm well enough when I start working.
So this is where I'm always kind of torn on whether the next generation has it easier or impossibly harder. So when I grew up with things like the Spectrum before the internet, where you could almost know everything. You could build your own computer.
Yeah.
They did, or you could program it for certain. Nowadays, there's just layers on layers on layers of stuff, and from even from folks like me, it's a black box.
Well, I'm not that much younger than you. You're what, 44, 45? Oh, you froze. Hello.
Well, yep, something like 44.
All right. I'm 30.
47.
Really? You're 47?
Maybe 46. I lose track. I lose track of the little numbers.
I remember when you last time we spoke with the Venifying X, he asked if you were a teenager in the 60s.
No.
That was funny. I mean, that would make you older. That would make you in your 70s.
So I remember the first time that
I'm
people,
33, by the way.
The first time people thought they identified who I was, they thought that I was a lecturer at Sheffield University and was 60-something years old.
Oh, God.
And it's like, I wish that if you look like this at 60-something, that'd be doing okay.
God, did they look at the age, or did they just think that they had a? That's why you seem so tickled. I remember you when you thought it was so funny. We were talking about how Dawa Films thinks he has your documents, thinks he knows who you are.
Yeah.
I'm glad you told me that, because all this time I actually thought it was a bluff, because then it turned out he really did know who you are. So I guess he got the wrong ones first, and then he got the right ones after that.
I can't remember the sequence, but I know for absolute certain that he tried all sorts of shit to get me fired from Cornell. Fortunately, I'd left by then, because otherwise I'm not so sure how they. I actually called up the guy from the personnel office afterwards, and he acknowledged that it all happened and all that sort of thing. But he refused to be drawn on what he would have done. But I mean, there's this whole offense. I'm offended type culture that's very prevalent at those sorts of universities.
It's when I watch what the stuff that you go through, it makes me regret that I chose my own name as my YouTube channel. You know,
and there's once you got your name out there a bit, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle.
Nope.
I can tell you. Sorry, go on.
I rarely tell what the JR stands for. I think you found out when you came over to my house in 2012. I don't know if you remember what my real name is, and a couple other people. Steph Zula found out.
So I make a point of not knowing. I just deal with aliases. I mean, the things are kind of antiquated now, but
I mean, Aaron Ra legally changed his name to Aaron Ra.
What?
Aaron Ra legally changed his name to Aaron Ra. Ra is now his last name. Aaron is now his first name.
Well,
I believe his original name was Lars Nelson.
Something like Leslie. I can't remember, something like that. Yeah.
I thought it was Lars.
And it was one of those strange things. The way he managed to get doxxed is he went to give a lecture. At one of these atheist conferences, and they just introduced him by his real name, and it's like, thanks, guys, that's much appreciated. Yes.
The normies don't understand.
Yeah, although there is, this is what I was about to say earlier. Is once it's happened, there's a sort of relief that comes with it. In that, what you're going to do now? Yeah, you can't really dox someone who's already been doxed. I mean, I've got a wiki page.
Yeah. You're on Wikipedia. That's how you know you've made it. Philip E. Mason.
Yeah, and it's just straight up out there at the top. And it's basically, I mean, for me, it's even worse, because if you're publishing academic stuff, there's absolutely no way you can conceal where you are. Because it all comes with your name attached and where you're working.
Well, in a video, one of the last videos I made last year, I did reference your academic publishing history, but it was a little difficult because there's another Philip Mason, and it was difficult to tell because it doesn't show like a picture. It just shows the first and last name. So I had to try to weed out which ones weren't yours.
It's actually, I've published in loads of fields, so people get confused by that sort of thing. But,
it wasn't that bad. I compared. Have you heard? Do you remember Dr. Mark Surtees?
No.
He's a creationist. He's been published. He got his degree, his PhD in zoology about 10 years before you got your PhD. He's been published 4 times ever. 2 of them were non-academic articles. I don't even know why they show up on scholarly Google, and 2 of them were things that he didn't really do. He was just sort of he was tangentially involved and just had his name mentioned in a thank you to the people who actually wrote the articles. That's it. He's been entirely useless his entire career.
That sounds about right for a creationist.
Yeah, all he does. I mean, I haven't seen anything new of him since around 2013. But all he does is make the same basic speeches on a variety of different sciences, even though he knows nothing about astronomy or geology. He'll because there's so few real creationist scientists that they'll have him cover pretty much anything.
Is this Jordan Peterson is doing?
I'm sorry?
Isn't Jordan Peterson doing something similar?
Jordan Peterson?
Yeah, babbling about dreams and Jung and other things and connecting it to all sorts of different things.
I haven't followed everything he's done, but I mean, he just says a lot of ridiculous things about like women and about atheism.
Yeah, no, but he has answer to everything. Like from what I follow is like he knows the thing. He's like the new messiah that connects all of today's science with all of the past religious, whatever he calls it, substrate.
I gotta watch some videos working on it.
So yeah, what you described reminded me of him, basically.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if Peterson has been as useless as Surtees. Yeah, Surtees is actually British, and actually, yeah. His video the videos I made on Dr. Surtees originally were the first videos that got me a lot of attention and started me. What?
Can you send the link to your video about this guy?
Sure. They're pretty old, so don't so.
Because I never heard about
the quality.
But I know lots of these guys like peddling bullshit. And then I stopped following because there are too many of them to take them seriously. Right. But
yeah,
if there's something really interesting, I'll make an effort and watch it again.
Sure. I mean, I did a couple of. I had a creationist comment about to me, and his comments were so funny. I did a video about them. So the funniest thing is that the guy didn't notice that the videos were from 2009 when he responded to me. He kept criticizing me for me being a quote 23-year-old junior college student while Dr. Surtees has his PhD. So he's obviously going to listen to Dr. Surtees, not to me. All right, let's see. Wow, yeah, this is what I was. Yeah, here's the first one. Remember, this was done in when was the publishing date? December 2008.
Oh, this is JR.
Oh, don't play it. Don't make me listen to that.
At least it's this side of the millennium.
I'm sorry? All right, here's the other one.
2000. This side of the millennium.
You're starting to sound like a robot now.
Yeah.
Okay. It's only better now.
I think it's from your interface.
Yeah, everyone else sounds fine. How you doing?
Okay, on the subject of publications, assuming I don't sound like a robot still, we just got that thing published in JACS, which is very decent chemistry journal. That's the Sci-Hub link, which is this Russian site that allows you to see anything. It basically bypasses the copyright for these things. But if you get to the acknowledgements,
it's still hard to hear you.
Yeah, you still sound like a robot.
Phil, I think the driver of your interface crashed. Can you plug your microphone out and back in?
It's either that or you've been assimilated by the Borg.
Okay,
man. Okay, you said is it?
Am I still the robot?
Yeah.
Resistance is futile, basically.
Okay. How about now?
Same. Corresponding authors.
There's a gazillion authors on that thing.
Wow, it's 23 degrees outside.
I
And my girlfriend's here. She says I'm talking too much.
Hi, girlfriend.
Okay, I've changed the microphone over. Is that any better? Or
Oh yeah, much better.
Ah, excellent.
No more Borg voice.
Well, try and put the camera back on. And seeing as we have other people here, let me just show you what's going on right next to where I'm sitting, which is that's the mass spec in the corner there. And currently it's given us a mass spectrum of air, which is mostly nitrogen here at 28 and oxygen at 32, and not a whole lot of other stuff. However, if I put it over to let's go back to the log scale. With the log scale, you can see absolutely everything. Super. So it's a log scale that goes over 5 orders of magnitude or something. So what you got? These are various fragments of nitrogen, oxygen. Here's your big nitrogen peak at 28, oxygen peak at 32, big argon peak at 40, and carbon dioxide at 44. So it just keeps doing that. And if I
What's that can?
Sorry?
What's that can on the right? It looks like a can of compressed gas.
Oh, God, right. What else we got? So I was doing these originally. These are oxygen carbon dioxide detectors.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah. So this was a video that I started like half a dozen times, and I just couldn't get it to work. So what I was doing is I was just getting some water, and I was filling this thing up with argon, and then sticking it into water. And of course, what you should find is the argon diffuses out through the water, and oxygen and carbon dioxide diffuse in. So you should see that after a certain amount of time, you end up with basically air in here as all of the argon diffuses out.
Yeah.
The problem there was obviously quite a lot of carbon dioxide dissolved in the water, and it takes forever to bloody equilibrate. And the reason I wanted to do this, of course, is once you get the rough air exchange on just a water surface, that's not far off what you get on your lungs. So from this little exchange on a known...
You made a lung.
I basically made a lung, and then you can work out how big of an interface you need to be able to sustain a human, and then that tells you basically how big... Yeah, if you wanted a gill with an oxygen gill with a gas interface, how big it would have to be, because there was another one of these guys claiming that it made an artificial gill.
And whatever happened to the Triton? Did they go up? Did they go bust again?
They got shut down for being a scam after they raised the best part of $1 million.
Good Lord.
And then they set it up again, saying this time it was going to run off compressed or liquefied gas, at which point it's just a regular, pressurized gas breathing apparatus. And it got shut down for being a scam again because it was. They were claiming they were going to use cylinders this sort of size.
Yeah, pump it up, hand pump.
Oh, and there was one of those in Australia that also raised $1 million, and they were using cylinders this big, and they were pumping them up by hand. And you do the calculations that, you need, 6 liters of air per minute.
It takes forever. I have a pump that you can use for that.
Yeah. So
to about 310 bars.
You have to use like a gas compressing pump to do it.
Yeah, but they were claiming that you were just going to do it with a bicycle pump. And the thing is, you're going to be pumping for 10 minutes, and then you can stay underwater for maybe 1. Right?
Yeah,
and that's at best, because your big problem is once you go into water,
It compresses it more.
you can't breathe without a regulator, right?
Yeah.
It's not just you need the gas from the bottle. The gas from the bottle needs to be at the same pressure as the water around you.
Exactly. It needs to push the air into your lungs, essentially.
Yeah, but not too much because otherwise
You would pop.
yeah. Either you pop or it blows out of your mouth.
Yeah.
So you just need a regular breathing regulator. At which point it's an exact scuba kit with a tiny bottle, which you're filling with a bicycle pump. Man.
I remember when I was.
And they got $1 million for it.
Of course they did, because nobody knows anything. It's just.
What's this? What's this? Is this the 300 bar compressor?
Yeah.
That's bitchingly high pressure. I mean,
This is
not bicycle pumps. You're doing well if you can get 10 bar out of them.
This is
I want to see.
3-step pump with a special tube, and they also sent me an adapter for a car vent, so I could pump my car up with this.
Like your tires?
Hang on. Car tires are what, 2 or 3 bar?
Yeah, unbelievable, man.
That being said, I've seen people who have overpressured tires. They make a hell of a bang when they go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's always my fear when I'm adding air to my tires. I'm going to overdo it and it's going to explode.
They take quite a lot of pressure before they go bang, but when they do,
that's what I keep telling myself. It would take a tremendous amount of excess pressure before it actually explodes. But it's hard. What we know is much less powerful than what we feel that we know, and it's hard to kind of override one with the other.
So the high pressure gases, people just usually have so little experience with them that these things explode at about 10 atmospheres, and when they go, they scare the bejesus out of me, and I know they're going to make a decent bang.
Like the dry ice bombs.
Yeah, and there's quite a decent force that you get on those things as well. There's always some idiot who's sort of shaking it when it explodes, and it's like,
I
think they've probably got the hand, but bad lacerations, I would be surprised if they didn't get cut up pretty bad.
Maybe a sprain on a sprained knuckle.
Oh, something like that. Yeah.
I pressurized these things with my pump.
Oh, those are the proto
the
polyethylene terephthalate pop bottles.
Yeah. For
And
things
just,
like
yeah.
this.
Do you make it like squirt really high?
I once built a rocket with a burst disc, and the rocket was from paper. It flies really good.
Maybe.
But
I believe.
from calculations, this should hold about 100 bars.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But not the lid. The lid flies off at 15.
So I can tell you what your problem there is. When you pressurize gas up to 100 bar, the temperature will melt it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, like when I use compressed air at work to clean out a computer or a phone, the bottle gets almost too cold to hold after I've done it for a while because the gas expands and it just cools down. I remember mathematically exactly what happens. It's Boyle's law.
I would not be able to pressurize this thing because I don't have a lid that holds the pressure.
Seals that hold 100 bar are usually fairly heavy duty.
When I pump and I have a normal lid on it with 15 bars, it lets off a bang. Wow, this thing is so loud because the lid is suddenly gone.
Yeah.
I've done one thing. I screwed it on top, pressurized it to 15 bars with a zip tie on it. And when I push the lid zip tie off, the cap flew away with a loud bang, and I never found it again.
Can I ask why you do this?
Oh, I was just testing these tubes.
Yeah.
Just how much pressure they can hold.
Had a box
Yeah.
of them, decided to see what you could do with them.
Yeah.
But let me tell you a way that you can make that plastic there worth almost as much as gold.
Okay.
And this is going to be fairly disgusting, so
Okay.
ah.
Oh.
These are actually the sort of invisible aligners.
Oh yeah.
They've been cut down a bit. But it turns out that these things are actually done on a 3D print from a plastic that is almost identical to the stuff that you get in the pop bottles. Apart from they're not quite worth their weight in gold.
Wait.
Or like, you know,
is yours made from PETG?
very close. It's not polyethylene terephthalate, it's polyoctyl terephthalate or something. But
okay.
it's almost identical. I'll bet you can make this stuff out of pop bottles. Other than that, it's just a 3D printer that makes the molds, and yeah, when you put them in, they are almost invisible.
I'm gonna have to get something like that eventually. A couple of years ago, one of my last semesters in college, I was so stressed, I developed a nervous tick and managed to suck 2 of my teeth slightly out of alignment.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that that what they do with these things is they got a 3D scanner which they sort of stick in your mouth, and the whole thing to get the scan of your teeth takes 10 minutes.
Sit there with this thing in your mouth for 10 minutes.
Well, no, it's not even that. They're moving it around. It's got like 2 windows creating a stereoscopic image of your mouth. And it's actually, I mean, it's fascinating to watch the videos of them doing it, because it builds up a sort of micron perfect image of your teeth, you know, and that's it. Then they sort of send it off to the printer, and
you get new ones, or you get
Yeah.
you get the what I don't want to say prosthesis because it's not really a prosthesis.
It is, though. It's getting pretty close to plastic surgery. In fact, I was a little, you know, are you doing this for the aesthetics, or why are you doing this? Now, it turns out for me, there's at least 2 reasons to do this. Some of the teeth that I have on the side are actually really pretty crooked up, or they're nowhere. They're meant to be a sort of arc, and they're not. They're all offset. So getting that sorted, I was told was worth doing. And also aesthetically, I had one of these teeth on the front here, which was stuck way out front, which is not stuck out anymore. But I've got a time lapse of this, so if you want to be grossed out sometime,
you can make it a Patreon only video.
yeah, well, it's a pretty personal thing. So also on that sort of front of doing time lapses of weird things. Remember I did this thing where I poured molten gold on a potato?
Oh yes.
Well,
more like you dripped molten gold on a potato, but
yes. So I came back after a month later or something, and the potato hadn't died; it had started to grow. And so I decided any potato that's had molten gold poured on it and not succumbed deserves a second chance. So I planted it to see if it would grow, and it grew fantastically. And then I thought it died when the first frosts came, because I didn't know anything about growing plants, hardly at all. And so I brought it in for the winter, and yeah, this a week or so ago, it grew like crazy. I came back and there was this stalk about this high that wasn't there, so I set up a time lapse camera on that as well. And the time lapse of that is absolutely fucking awesome. But
is the plant still alive?
And growing like crazy. In fact, I'm going to. Yeah, I uploaded 1 or 2 of them. Let me see if I can Come on. God, I hate the way that YouTube keeps moving this shit around. Right, okay, let's try that. Take a look at that guy, and I don't think there's any music or anything on it. It's just,
All right, Thunderfoot CC.
Oh, it's not available.
Yeah, it's not available for me either.
Is it set on?
Try it into the browser.
Oh, it's set to private. That's why. Let me set it to. Fuck it. I'll just set it to public.
How many subscribers does Thunderfoot CC have?
Oh, not many. I don't know, a few thousand or so. I could try it again now, and
I got it. Oh, look at that.
but the speed that it moves, and this has been running now for this is just 1 or 2 days. Bear in mind what I've sent there. And it's moving like pulsating on a fairly decent frequency. It's like 1 hour or something. It's snaking.
A little creepy.
But anyway, right. So now that's just thrown 1 stalk up.
It's starting to grow a second one.
And yeah, now there's like 6 of them. And initially they all shoot up, and they get about I don't know, sort of this high, 6 inches, 15 centimeters, and then they sort of shoot off to the side. It's
you're gonna make a hell of a potato salad.
This is the thing. Part of me thinks that with a potato that awesome, you don't eat it all at once.
Well, doesn't it like grow other potatoes out of the roots so you can like keep using it?
That's one of the things I do. Yeah, you're right. So they sort of grow out and they get extra potatoes, and then they sort of grow up and become big potatoes themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Or maybe take the seeds and then plant its children.
Yes, I'm not going to eat the golden potato. I'm just going to eat its children.
I love it.
Kind of twisted, but
the golden potato should be crumbled up pretty much when you take the smaller potatoes off it.
What?
It shrinks and it
no. No, tell me it's not true. My golden potato is committing suicide for its children.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's not the golden, isn't it? What happened with the gold?
So the gold mostly just ran off, although I did actually find 1 little fleck of gold, 1 little bead of gold that actually stuck into the potato.
Did you recover all the gold?
The gold mostly just ran off, yeah. And so I've got it in the cupboard next door. There are all these little splats of gold.
You have gold ignits, gold bars, and you have gold splats.
Gold splats, potato flavored gold splats.
Yeah, I mean, I did see that clip once where the guy had that used where the guy had his head coated in gold. I mean, it doesn't look like liquid metal at all. I mean, that's not what metal does. So I couldn't take it seriously.
So I've got to admit, I have become an absolute avid Game of Thrones fan. But it is, I mean, this is, again, it's one of those sort of bad sides in awesome movies that, first of all, he just throws the gold into an iron pot and the gold melts quickly in like 2 minutes. And it's like, well, first of all, the iron would melt before the gold. And then, secondly, you would, this was the pot they were cooking their stew in. And then he just puts his gold in it and it melts. And
you might be able to melt aluminum like that.
Possibly. But even at that, I mean, if you're cooking your stew in it, it's more a pot designed for simmering stuff, or the heat from the fire. It's only enough to give you a simmering heat. But you're right, you probably do aluminium or aluminum.
I once melted copper in an old pot, and the copper melted.
Yeah. Well,
I-
copper melts almost the same temperature as gold. It's well over 1,000. Well, it's 1,100, I think.
I put it in a coal fire and used compressed air to blow a bit air in it.
That would do it.
Yeah.
When I was in China, the water in the city I was in, the tap water wasn't very clean, so I had to boil it and then pour it into a bottle and store it for use for drinking or brush my teeth. It tasted terrible, but at least it was safe. But at first I used this aluminum pot I found when I first moved into my apartment, but I forgot about it. And it was in my room, and all the water boiled off, and then the aluminum started to melt on my stove. The pot was a total loss, but there was no permanent damage to the stove. I just had to toss the pot away and air out my apartment. Then I got one of those electric kettles that you have.
Yeah, kettles are good.
Yeah, much better than setting your apartment on fire with an aluminum
Well,
pot.
it's one of the nice things about Europe is the 200 volts. You can get decent power out of 200 volts.
Mm-hmm.
The
Same in China.
120.
Well, it's the same power. It's just in America they have the voltage and double the current.
Yeah, but that means that the higher current causes more heating and I don't know. I thought you struggled with the high power devices on 120 volts.
I've never had an issue. I just
Okay.
I had to use a power converter when I was in China because all my appliances were American. Although my computer's power adapter is dual voltage, so I could use that.
Yeah.
All I needed for that was just an adapter. But my roommate in my first apartment, I only was with him for a month, and then I was by myself for the rest of the year. He took one of my adapters, thinking it was a power converter, and tried to use it to charge his electric razor. He was an American too, so he had the same problem I had. And his razor started smoking.
Yeah, I fried a toothbrush once doing that. I mean, I just naturally assumed that it would be one of these dual voltage things, and no, and yeah, you're right. There's just this pop, and if you're lucky, it doesn't start smoking. If you're lucky, it just burns something out, and that's it. It's done.
Well,
when I say
things survive the higher power, but you have to keep in mind that at 230 you have about 4 times the power. When you have the same resistance.
Oh, my friend was helping me with a project. He was a computer science major. I was a computer engineering major. So I guess he hadn't done the electronics courses. And so he was testing the input and output, the input and ground ports on my Raspberry Pi, the little single circuit board computer.
Yeah.
And he was about to connect an LED to the VCC and to the ground without any resistance added to it. And that thing's a constant voltage source, so the current to that would be pretty high. So I saw him doing that, and I started going, no.
Yeah.
It might have had like an auto cut off, or it might have just popped the LED. But I didn't want to risk it, so I taught him how to put a resistor of a proper value between them, and it was fine. He's a brilliant guy, but he's no computer engineer.
Yeah.
Oh, you know how I still been talking to you on occasion?
Sorry?
You know who I've been... Sorry, it's a topic jump, but I have to tell you this. Nephilim Freeze still sometimes brings me into his hangouts.
Nah.
Yes.
Tell me. I'm going to guess he's not changed at all.
Oh, God, he's gotten worse. I mean, pretty much the only thing he does now is hangouts. Sometimes I'm the only person he can get to come on. Sometimes he gets some creationist friends. But he said to me on the last one I was a part of that science has proven that we have spirits because our brains don't gain mass when we learn new information. Otherwise, if a thought was something physical, then when we told someone new information, it would beam out of our heads and into the other person's head.
Yes, which is why SD cards get heavier when you put
Exactly.
data on.
That was the same thing I said. The thing is, when you show him stuff that when you contradict some of the stuff, he can't refute. He just ignores you and just talks over you and pretends like he never said anything, or just repeats the same stupid thing again and again.
So for everyone else's benefit, Nephilim 3 was one of the sort of first generations of creationists on YouTube, along with people like Venom Fang X, absolutely steadfast that science disproved evolution and proved the Bible was true. And the one that I remember, right? So his name, Nephilim.
Yeah, his real name is Evan Phillips.
Yeah, but the name Nephilim 3, Nephilim were giants in the Bible. And the evil giants that were demons breeding with people created the giants. It's something along those lines. And he actually had a video, one of his first videos, which I long had on the list of why do people laugh at creationists to do. And he's going about how the Nephilim were real. And we know this because there are statues of giants in all of these different countries. One of the ones that he has is the statue of Mother Russia from Stalingrad, which was World War II. Right? It was made after World War II. You know, this giant woman, sort of, Mother Russia with the sword and all that sort of thing. And he was claiming that these were the Kurgan giants or something. Is what inspired them.
This is proof that we had really tiny people too.
Yes, that's true, and that they were magical because that's why they're pointy ears, pointy-eared magical people. But so he actually had all these pictures. The Statue of Liberty is not proof that there were giants in America. But the thing is that he had a statue that's kind of as famous as the Statue of Liberty, but in Russia. And, oh man. How do I finish that video sometime?
I don't think too many people would object. Even if it's so many years old, it's fun to rehash. It's fun to rehash this old stuff. I've decided I got a couple other things on the docket, but I've just been too busy to work on any YouTube videos right now. But I've decided I'm going to do Nephilim 3 Typical Creationist Liar Part 10. Just one, and I'm going to subtitle as the final video. I've decided I'm going to do one last video on this guy, just describe what has recently happened with him, and maybe talk about the history about him, and then end it with why there's no point never talking with him ever again.
Yeah.
Just make it a really good final episode.
So I'm always torn with these things that because now there's a whole new generation of batshit crazy on YouTube. So someone sent me a link earlier saying you've got to debunk this, and it was basically how the pyramids weren't burial tombs at all. They were power generating facilities that these ancient people made, and it had 11 million hits and a 90-something% approval rating, and it was basically aliens built the pyramids type thing.
Oh, that's
when you search for it, you find tons of this.
But this is the thing. I in the early days on YouTube, it was nowadays there are all these search algorithms that try and sort of give you stuff that you might want to watch.
Yeah, they're awful.
But they tend to keep you away from this sort of crazy shit. Right? If you're into that crazy shit, that's all that pops up in your feed. And so, the idea that you have videos like that with 10 million hits on them, I just find really depressing.
I found
it would be interesting to see how many views have like really legit videos of science or knowledge versus this batshit crazy stuff. Like what would be on the scale
Well, I remember Dawkins having this thing years ago that, you just go to your typical bookstore. Like, it shows how old it was because bookstores were more of a thing then. But you could go to the science section and all of the books on biology would be smaller than the section on books on angels in the paranormal section. That was just the books on angels. It wasn't like once you get into the ghosts and ESP and demons and
is that just America or is it the same in Europe?
No, that was in England.
Okay,
well, which is
I
right.
feel a little
People,
less bad.
But 77% of Americans believe in angels. Isn't that
Yeah,
right?
that sounds accurate.
Is that still the number? That one's from 2011. Just wondering. That seems to be a good number, good score.
I believe it. So I actually was watching a video from Potholder from when Kent Hovind got out of jail. This was just a few days ago. But Kent Hovind got out of jail, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that.
I remember it seemed like he was still how it seemed like he still had a long way to go in his prison sentence, and now he's been out for years.
Yeah, but the thing is that one of his first videos when he got out, he said that, I'm out and we're looking forward to Jesus coming back in the next 10 to 15 years. And it's something like 25% of Americans also believe this.
Even though they're always wrong again and again and again, they still say, well, he's still going to come back really, really soon. I remember Aaron Ra giving a speech where he said that when he was a child, he had neighbors who didn't mow the lawn, didn't fix the big hole in the wall, didn't send their kids to school. They just sat around and sung songs and waited for for Jesus to come back and cause the end of the world. So now it's the 21st century, and all those kids are stupid adults who never were able to learn anything, and they can't live a meaningful life.
Yeah.
But there are people in Germany, at least, that believe in angels. I've encountered some of them in my own relative. I was pretty shocked. It was actually the funeral of my father, and this great aunt, twice removed or something. She told me that she saw an angel when he died or something. I was pretty shocked about that, actually. But she's only a tiny minority. I have to claim that she's over 80 years old. She's over 80 years old. But she's always been that way. I wouldn't claim it's only about the age. She's very strong. Has always been a very strong believer. And she lives in rural Germany. Well, it's a different thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, rural older people. When I was a kid, I'm also from Europe, obviously, but there were stories every day about various superstitions and what did happen, what might happen, and the closets were opening, and all sort of first-hand and second-hand accounts and third-hand accounts. These stories were always there, but somehow disappeared with my generation when we became adults. So
and loads of weird traditions Yeah.
So it's also, I know this, that last time I was back in England, there were loads of shows about ghost hunts.
Yeah, that's popular in America too, unfortunately. It's not hard. Yeah,
but
not hard to do.
In Germany, there's quite a lot of the crystal healing and homeopathy. They're pretty big in Germany.
Yeah. The homeopathy is pretty big. It's part because of the fact that pregnant women aren't allowed to take much medicine, and the midwives jump in and promote homeopathy. My wife and I have. We've shocked a few by saying that we want to have something that actually has some effect.
Yeah, something with an active ingredient.
Yeah, but
they're also
just like water or wax.
Andreas.
Yeah.
Andreas.
Yeah.
So in Germany, this homeopathy, because I live in Switzerland at the moment, and I see that, and we go to Germany for shopping for cheap beef and other items, like maybe soon coming to UK if they Brexit. But I see that homeopathy is many times like mixed with any sort of herbal stuff and medicine. They would put a label homeopathy on it, although it's maybe just I don't know, tea from something which might have some.
It is an holistic approach.
Yeah. Like it's not that homeopathy that you read about it in Wikipedia, which is like take 1 milligram of something and put it in a ton of water and mix it, dilute it. They put this label on for every single thing. Like it can be literally a tea, and they would say it's a homeopathic.
My aunt, for example, she's actually a biology teacher, or she was a biology teacher. She treats her own children with homeopathy, and only in really rare circumstances uses let's use antibiotics and stuff. So that's
at least it's not poisonous, you know. At least it's not. It's not directly causing harm, but it can cause harm by neglecting real medical medicine. But I mean, there's people in America where they inject baking soda into their veins.
Well, and here's where it becomes weird. My father has been a doctor, and he has gotten an extra, well, not a degree, but an extra medical qualification to do homeopathy because it's very well paid. And I made the observation that medical doctors in Germany are very easy to be persuaded when it pays. And they do this mind warping thing. Then they do this mind warping thing where they warp their mind to what actually gets them the money. Oh well, that's just.
Yeah, because in Switzerland also where health insurance is quite expensive, but if you pay a little bit more, then you get access to all the homeopathic treatments also.
Yeah.
Included in the price.
Big plus, yes.
Yeah.
I recently found some videos of some people who believe that the sun is fake, that there's a fake sun installed around Earth that hides some sort of planetary system. I guess the planets have no mass because they don't disrupt Earth's orbit, and the planets are being seen more and more because they're getting close to the Earth because Jesus Christ is coming back, and I don't know what the planets have to do with it, but what they are is what all these videos are basically. She uses these weather cameras that she goes to on the internet and finds where there's a bit of lens flare or like a refraction from a drop of water that landed on the lens because it's an outside camera, and because it's round, she thinks that it's a planet that she's seeing, or sometimes it's just glare from the sun or a cloud.
What's next? Planet X on the other side of the sun.
Although there's like a striped planet, there's like a red cratered planet, there's a giant tan planet. She thinks some of them are the same planets over and over again. But I sent it to Logic on Twitter, and he started doing a series of videos on them. Have you ever seen Logic's videos?
Some of them, yes.
It's just I watched this video 4 times because it's just so ridiculously inept. It's like I don't know. I can't think of a good adjective for it. It's just really bad. Here, what's going on? Oh, there we are. I just sent it to you on Skype. If you haven't seen that one, I highly recommend it. Might be a good. Maybe you should take a look at his source. It might be a good. Hello. Am I talking to myself?
No, we hear you.
All right, because it looks like Thunderfoot froze.
I'm back.
Okay. Hello. There you are. It might make a good "why do people laugh at creationist" thing. You know, it's Christian crap, but it's different than the normal creationist stuff.
So I think originally it was Vulcan was the planet that was, because it's one of those things. If there was an exact duplicate of Earth, it could, in principle, orbit on exactly the other side of the sun, and you would never see it.
Well, we have probes that orbit the sun now.
Now we would be now we do know for certain that there's no planet there, but I think this was one of the early philosophical things: is it might be there, and I think originally in mythology it was Vulcan, but I might be wrong on that.
There was a failed sci-fi series. It only made it to its first episode, which was feature length, where an astronaut lands on this on an alternate Earth that's exactly as you describe it. So humans are there, except it's a dystopian type place, and so the states and the countries have different names, and everyone is left-handed. That was the premise. I saw it on an episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000.
What's the opposite of misogyny when the women are in charge?
Misandry. That's the hatred of men.
Matriarchy.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You think of a matriarchal society.
So that's not changed there. Opposite.
Okay, no. I don't believe it was matriarchal. It was just it was.
Only left-handedness was the catch.
No F word around in this chat.
Well, I just wanted to ask Thunderfoot something. I assume that you're aware of the German Energiewende or energy transition thing. What we're trying to do in Germany to get rid of nuclear power, coal energy, and switch completely to renewables. Well, you made a couple of videos about nuclear energy, and well, I don't really have a very strong opinion on it either way. But could you maybe do a video on if it actually could work, what we're trying to do in Germany, if it is feasible at all?
So Germany, if I remember rightly, you're doing fantastically with things like wind power. Yeah, and there's also loads of solar. I mean, so all the lots of times I've been through Germany, first of all, the flatlands are just covered with windmills everywhere. Yeah, and quite a lot of solar farms as well. Nuclear, of course, has been it's been phased out. But if I remember rightly, don't you import like loads of energy from France?
France.
Well, the last I've heard, we are exporting, but
okay.
The thing is, the thing is, what I'm wondering, okay, electricity, that's all fine and good, or maybe fine and good, but what about the energy for the cars? So we're trying to, well, I've been trying for a couple of decades, but we're trying to switch to electric powered cars as well, and that's a huge amount of energy, I guess. The amount you need for the cars.
The only energy we export is the coal energy to the Netherlands, because at night they don't want to shut the whole facility down because no one uses electricity. They just donating the energy to the Netherlands across the border. So yeah, but mostly Germany imports the energy from Czechia and Poland.
Okay.
In Czechia, they
you import from Poland.
From Poland and Czechia.
Huh.
The land below it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I actually that's actually, well, that might even work. But my point is about powering cars and everything that has been done with fossil fuels as well. I'm wondering if we actually have enough space in Germany to switch to renewables to be self-sufficient.
I mean, a lot of the problem with things like the wind farms is they take an astronomical amount of materials to build them. So once you build them, they're not so bad. But in terms of just the material requirements for building the infrastructure, nuclear power plants are actually pretty good.
And the waste doesn't take up a lot of space.
Yeah. I mean, I think nuclear's got a hugely bad rap over the years.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do sort of scaremonger about it. But you take a look at France, and they've had, well, they generate something like 80% of their electricity from nuclear. They've done it that way for decades with no real problem. So I think the technology is there for building safe nuclear power plants these days.
But probably not in Japan, I guess.
Well, I mean, but this is the thing. You take a look at the big nuclear disasters. Fukushima was
it got hit by a tidal wave.
Yeah, that killed 10,000 people, and the actual reactor itself didn't kill anyone. It was the oldest power plant in Japan.
Oh, we lost you again.
By modern standards. And you're right, it got hit by a bloody tidal wave. Then you take a look at the other big one, which was Chernobyl. And it was a shitty design. And they were fucking, they were Russians messing around with it, trying to do stuff, and they screwed it up. And that's why it melted down and blew up. But nowadays, you can actually walk. Here we are, what, 30 years after Chernobyl? When was Chernobyl? It was
86.
86. Oh god. Okay, 40 something.
33. I was born in 86, so it's
okay.
So it happened right after I was born.
Okay, so 30 odd years, and you can actually now, there are tours where you can go up to the gates of Chernobyl and just, it's a tourist attraction. So and that's the absolute worst case scenario.
Well, I've heard the argument, and I've looked at your videos, and I'm actually kind of, maybe we shouldn't have actually switched them, or we shouldn't actually try and switch off all the nuclear power, and because it's from my point of view, the waste we get is probably a burden worth to take, given the advantages, but. Well, I'm not a physicist.
Not yet to switch them off, because it's one thing to replace the coal, because coal it
burns constant.
Yeah,
and
it leaves a lot of waste products though.
Yeah, but it's not that bad in perspective.
Compared with nuclear power, or
a coal with nuclear power.
Okay.
Because the ash of coal is also radioactive.
Yeah, it's one of those ironies is that coal plants typically put out more radiation into the environment than nuclear power plants, because with nuclear power plants everything's very contained. Whereas with nuclear power, with coal, you burn all the coal, and of course that condenses anything that was radioactive in it into the ash, and then you just chuck the ash in a big pile. So
I had a brief argument with someone who believed that the United States could switch over its entire power infrastructure to pure hydroelectric, because New Zealand was essentially able to do that. Because they apparently
New Zealand's a bloody mountain range.
Yeah, New Zealand has a population of about 4 million, which is less than the state of Maryland, which is one of the smallest states in the country, less than half the size of New York City, and we produce 9 times as much hydroelectric power from the Hoover Dam alone. That's not even the largest hydroelectric plant in America anymore. So they're just arguing complete ignorance.
Norway is completely green from the energy.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not going to produce atmospheric pollution, but it still messes up the ecosystem of that river, and the lake around the land that it creates.
I just were in Norway.
Well, I'm basically all for the renewable energies. For example, my flat is heated with geothermal energy. It's really cheap.
But you only can use geothermal energy in parts of the earth that is being produced. You can't just dig anywhere.
But if it fits, I mean, then why not do it? Why not? But basically, what I was really wondering was that if it's actually feasible to run the cars we have in Germany and heat all the buildings and so on with renewable energies that we can produce on the area of Germany, if it's actually possible, because you need a lot of area to produce many of the types of energies you have.
But if I remember rightly, Germany is what, about 30% renewable at the moment? Might even be more than that.
Yeah, something like that. But we're still using fossil fuels for almost all the cars. I don't really know if there's going to be a big breakthrough or anything in renewable energies in the future.
Well, don't you really need breakthrough in electric cars, because they really have really limited usage.
They are slightly more efficient than the fossil fuels, I think.
Well, the problem is that you charge electric cars with fossil fuels. So
yeah.
Kind of
but okay, assume you have all the green, all your energy from the green sources. Still, you can use your electric car to drive to work and back, not to transport your goods from one city to another part of the country, right? Although I've been in Frankfurt last week, and there's this experimental part of highway when they are placing electric cables over the highway. You know something about
solar roadways?
No. It's something like trains use. So the
cable car stuff, or cable car thing, or
you heard about it, because I was pretty surprised by this installation.
Oh, you mean the buses that get the power from a line above the street?
Yes.
Yeah, the tram, or what's it called?
Yeah, but it's someone told me it's supposed to be for trucks and buses. So it's not like only tram cars. And you don't know nothing about it. It's between Frankfurt and Darmstadt. Part of the highway has power lines over the right lane of the highway. And supposedly some trucks are able to
follow each other. The trucks follow each other automatically, something like that.
No. They have electric engines, and I don't know, how do you call the part of a tramway or a train that touches the electric line above the road? How do you call this part in English?
I'm not so sure we have a name for it, but the electrical, let's say the electrical pickup.
Yeah, so supposedly they are going to use trucks with this electrical pickup, and when they are just going to have constant access to the electric power.
But it seems to me something that is a kind of substitute for trains, that could be done with trains as well.
In Norway, they have electric buses, and at the bus stops in the street there are inductive coils to charge the buses up at every bus stop.
I'm surprised you can get enough through I've never heard of the large-scale induction charging like that, but I've just not been paying attention.
You can look it up. I think every bus there has this.
So I mean, this is probably one of the biggest things that you can do towards making the whole thing greener. Is rather than it doesn't really matter whether you're taking a car, whether it's an electric car or a regular car, it still weighs about a ton, and you're transporting something that weighs 100 kilos in each one of those. So in other words, for every 1 ton of passenger, there's 10 tons of transport. Whereas if you go to a bus or something, this ratio improves dramatically. So that's one of the biggest things you can do to make things greener is public transport. Also,
unfortunately, I've come to accept the fact that the German people won't do without the cars. just like the Americans won't do without their weapons. It's not going. The reduction is not an option, I guess.
Actually, hang on. This is a question I need to ask JR now. If America was forced to give up one, the cars or the guns, which one do you think would go?
Definitely the guns. We're a very wide and dispersed country, and it sucks not having a car in most places.
Yeah.
I think it depends on who you ask.
There's a lot more, and there's a lot more people that don't own guns than there are people that don't own cars in this country.
Yeah, good to know. Well, but I think it's going to be a major uprising if we try to reduce consumption in a significant way. It's just it's going to be AfD voters all around.
When I was in California doing some training, and one of the people there said that the major car manufacturers in America are discontinuing sedans and sports cars, and they're focusing on a new model of fleet cars. Basically, it's just like you know, instead of owning a car, you're going to just sort of order a car to rent. They deliver it, and then you do whatever you need with it, and then they take it away from you.
Yeah, carpooling.
No, it's kind of like Uber, except it's more like a car delivery, like an inexpensive daily car rental.
Oh wow!
Which I don't know. It sounds inefficient. Like when I suddenly realize I forgot to get something at the store, I want to just go to the store and get it. I don't want to have to wait 30 minutes to get a car and then go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about other parts of the world, but here in Poland we have like bike sharing and electric motorcycles sharing is pretty
We
popular.
do that. We have that in some places. We have a lot of bicycle sharing.
But I think the cars are next logic step, right? So you don't need to. Maybe you don't need to have this car delivered to you, but you just look on your app where is the nearest car, and you just grab it, right?
Yeah, something like a self-driving Uber thing. Maybe.
We do have that. I can't remember what it's called. It was something I actually looked into possibly doing when I moved over here because I couldn't take my car with me. But I ended up just getting myself a new car. It's nice, you know. It's the first time I've ever had a car that was made in the same decade that I bought it.
I've never done that.
I remember your old '90s sedan.
I missed that car. In fact, I've got the license plates next door.
What did you end up doing with it? Did you sell it to Pick and Pull?
I gave it to a friend who drove it for a few years, and then he took one last picture of it as it was being taken to the junkyard, and I cried myself to sleep that night.
Very emotional moment.
Oh yeah, my parents have been holding my old T-Bird since 2011 now. They've been. I don't know. I'm thinking eventually I'll be able to get, once I start working, I'll be able to get a better apartment, and then I can maybe I can fix up the major problems with it and then transport it across the country. Get my first car back.
That sounds like a story for telling the kids driving across the states in a Thunderbird.
I don't know. Well, it's a '93 so it's doesn't have a lot of the luxuries of my new car. I might just actually pay to have it transported, or they just put it on a flatbed and take it across the country. I mean, it beats a 3,100 mile drive just to move a car.
Yeah,
but you needed it emotionally.
Yeah, if I can make it like a road trip like you did. Then maybe I do it. I don't know how much time I'm going to have because I'm going to be working full time.
Well, in principle, it doesn't. Well, it's 40 hours drive, I think, from LA to New York.
Yeah.
Which, if you're a hard man, you can do in 2.5 days.
I can't sleep without drugs, anyways. Remember when I got back from China? I told you I was awake for 70 hours. Hello?
Yeah. Hello. Yeah.
When I left China, it was a horrible journey because I kept missing every single transfer flight, and by the time I got back and my parents picked me up, I had been awake for 70 hours straight.
That's harsh.
That's really bad. I started to hallucinate and fall down more than usual.
Yeah.
So I mean, the video that I did on the Elon Musk and the batteries, right? Which I mostly did just to piss off the Elon Musk people because they deserve it. But I mean, the thing is that it's one of the things that the electric cars will never. They can't charge quickly. They don't have good range.
Well, you could exchange the batteries.
Yeah, I mean, this is the only thing that you can do is just that no one's done it yet.
Buy a hybrid.
It's electric cars. Other than that, are pretty good. But
I want to see someone just regularly changing 500 kilo battery on a car.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's like more than the average car's engine weighs.
They're expensive as well. I mean, yeah.
Besides, what guarantee do you have that you have the same value or the same quality battery?
Yeah. Well, they do. They you're right. They age differently, and
but the other concept I heard it's sometimes popping up is the supercapacitors, they call it, I guess. So
the supercapacitors. I mean, the fundamental problem that you always come down to on these things is what's the maximum energy density you can get out of it. And if almost the most density that you can get, what? It's a bank of capacitors.
Yeah, these supercapacitors.
But I mean, all they do is supercapacitors basically charge quickly, but they don't hold that much in terms of energy density. They're 1 or 2 orders behind batteries.
Yes, but the idea with them is that like you have every 100 meters of a kilometer, you have like a charging line. So your car, you're able to charge them quicker than you discharge them for your car moving. So you charge them on the short distance in like tunnel or something. I don't know, with conductive mesh of wires on the ground, or any idea probably what will be found what will be safe. But I don't know. I never found anyone doing thorough discussion on the subject. Just
I guess a lot of energy gets lost.
The problem is they degrade really fast if you put too much current through them.
What sort of dielectric do they use?
Oh, I don't really know. I don't know the electrolyte.
I mean, fundamentally, the problem that you have is almost the highest energy density that you can get is kind of explosive, right? And that's where every molecule, is actually sort of a spring in itself, held together such it'll release the most amount of energy when it explodes. And you can sort of work out roughly how much energy there is stored in the molecules. And that's not far off what you get out of gasoline. There's almost the maximum energy that you can get per atom in there. The problem is that when you try and put that much, if you could put that much energy into a battery, any failure will essentially result in the release of the same energy as explosive, right? Because that's how much energy you've crammed into it. And even as it stands, batteries cascade fail. So
remember when my laptop battery was swollen? Same thing.
Yeah.
As a comparison, this is about, I don't know how much capacity, but when I charge it up to 12 volts, it takes about 30 seconds at max at 10 amps to discharge it.
Yeah.
That's it.
With this is the standard 18650 cells. It has 3.8 volts, and you can draw 10 amps for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then it's empty. but you get the point. These things
As
don't
one
have
or two,
much
yeah.
of energy density, and
Yeah.
as a size comparison,
Yeah, and then you take a look at how much gasoline you need to hold the same power as even the best battery. In fact, it's one of those things. You're actually better off in terms of energy density. If you want an electric car, you use a generator to generate electricity, then you use that to drive the electric car. That's actually a better energy storage system than batteries. In fact, some of the early German tanks, I think, were actually like that. They were diesel generators that ran electric motors. I think it was the first Tiger tanks were like that.
could be.
I think I read
the
somewhere
good thing
that
is that you run the engines at the maximum efficiency.
Yeah. So I mean, you're obviously, when you burn your fuel, you lose 2/3 of it just through the Carnot cycle. But even at that, still a much better energy storage system than anything else. I mean, this is the one that gets me with Elon Musk and the electric jet. Is not even close. I mean, with cars, you can maybe tolerate having a huge battery pack, but when you take a look at planes, 1/3 of the weight of the plane when you take off is gasoline, diesel, or aviation fuel, something like that. If you wanted to do that with batteries, it would weigh about 10 times as much, which is whatever.
Very big car.
A very big plane.
Okay, but to be fair, it's if you compare the same amount of energy, it's 10 times more weight. But the engine is like 3 times more efficient, so you probably would need 3 times this mass of your energy storage, right?
So I mean, this is one of the things that people complaining about with the battery video is that once you factor in the engines don't weigh as much and they're less complicated, they have less maintenance. Electric cars aren't actually that bad, but when you have to make them fly, I don't know how much the jet engines weigh. How much do you reckon a jet engine weighs? 10 tons?
And about the claim that there will be, like, what were they? VTOL? What was that? What did that
vertical takeoff and landing, supersonic electric jets. That's what.
Have anyone got close to sonic speeds on electric engine? I mean, because you can't use jet. For obviously, you need to use like standard. I don't know. My English is not that good. Yeah, but you need to use standard propeller. How can you get to speeds over supersonic?
According to Google, the mass of a Boeing 747 engine is 4,058 kilograms.
So 4,000 kilos. How much?
4,058 kilograms.
Oh, well, it's almost nothing. 4 tons, and the takeoff weight is 150 tons. What's the takeoff weight of a jumbo? Jumbo takeoff weight. Takeoff weight. Oh wow, 400 tons. Right. So I mean, the engines for a jumbo are 1%, 4% of the weight of the aircraft.
Plus, there's like 3 or 4 engines depending on the model.
It's four engines on a jumbo, but the engines those are ancient by modern standards.
Yeah, I think the 747 itself was they're like, I think they're retiring it.
Could well be, but I remember it was a miracle of technology when I was a kid.
They're retiring the Airbus.
Yeah. So the thing about the Jumbo is it could fly. You could, I think, have 3 engines fail and it could still land.
Wow, that's impressive.
And this was back in the days when jets had a rather tarnished history. When they first started doing these things, they didn't really know about stress strain cycles on airframes, all sorts of other things like that. So there was quite a learning curve to all of this. And the Jumbo jet engines, I was told when I was a kid, held on by 4 bolts, and the 4 bolts were designed to fail, such that if something goes wrong with the engine, the vibrations just shear the bolts and the engine falls off. Because it's better to have an engine fall off than to lose a wing.
Look out below.
Well, there was that, 4 tons of free-falling metal.
Well, I mean, if you think of how spread out the most populations are, the chances of actually hitting anything of value is pretty remote.
Yes. Yeah.
A chunk of Skylab actually crashed on Australia.
And now it would be a collector's item.
Actually, yeah, it's in Alabama in a museum. I saw it when I was a kid. And Australia charged America $400. Yeah, Australia charged America $200 for littering, and America never paid it.
Normally they try and deorbit those things such that they land in the Pacific.
Yeah.
So did they just screw up with Skylab, or did they just not know how to do it at the time?
They didn't think there was going to be a big enough piece that would survive re-entry. They thought it would all just evaporate in the atmosphere. But anyway, I got to get going. I still got my girlfriend here. So it's nice talking with you.
Okay, Joe.
Okay.
Bye. Good talking.
Take care.
Just a quick one concerning the electric airplanes. A major party in Germany, or at least the government party, they promoting Lufttaxis, air cabs, basically. For urban mobility, basically, and the woman in charge in this area of government is Dorothee Bär, but she basically gets laughed off stage because people seem to realize that this is bullshit. Although, of course, there are quadcopter type airplanes, but it's not really a viable, affordable mode of transport for the general public. And if something like that falls down in a city, that's not a good thing either.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, you can't do quadcopters for anything with people, because you lose one engine and they can't fly. They need the propellers going in opposite directions, and you lose one propeller and you're kind of screwed. So you need like 6. You need a different array of propellers. They need to be like the 6.
There were prototypes using 8 propellers, something like that.
Yeah. And then your problem comes right. Well, you got on this. Elon Musk was actually about right that they make a hell of a lot of noise. They create a hell of a lot of downdraft. They're basically helicopters. All right, maybe sort of lightweight electric helicopters, but fundamentally
vertical takeoff and landing also.
Yeah. And then. I mean, it's not impossible, but there's a hell of a lot of technology between now and then. You need these things to be stunningly reliable if you're going to be flying them around in cities. Because if they start falling out of the sky, first of all, people die when that happens.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll walk,
And we need them to fly for more than 3 minutes, probably. It's the thing about energy density again. They're supposed to be automated, self-flying without a pilot, but I suspect this kind of concept won't fly.
I mean, you can make little prototypes of these things, but you're right. The energy density kind of kills you, and even if it doesn't, these things have nowhere near the reliability that anyone would conceive of using them in cities, let alone, I mean, they would have to be completely automated, first of all. And if people aren't willing to suffer cars to do their driving, they're not going to sort of let them fly you around either. You know, watch out for that tree and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. They're trying to distract from the real problems with stuff like that. That's what I suspect. Yeah. Do you know Going Postal by Terry Pratchett, where they're trying to sell the people mobile phones basically, but can't get the telegraph stuff in order?
That sounds almost, yeah, exactly right.
Something like that. Something like that. Yeah.
Or not to bring up Brexit, but the Irish solution. It's so England never built a high-speed rail network. It was France built a specialized high-speed network. Germany built a specialized high-speed network. England never did. Well, Britain never did. So it's still basically on its Victorian age railways, and so
I drove with it. It's like doof, 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 doof.
and exactly it's going to cost 100 and something billion pounds. And I saw one of these British panel shows where they're asking questions and they say, does anyone in the audience actually support HS2? And not a single hand in the audience goes up, right? And if you can't organize a fucking rail network, then you take a look at what's the British solution for the Irish border. Well, we're going to do it all with electronics. Do the electronics exist yet? No. But I mean, the whole thing is just delusional. That if you can't build a decent rail network, promising these high-tech solutions for X, Y, and Z, it's probably never going to happen.
I wanted to share this thing from The Economist, basically, well, showing the current situation of Theresa May going to the EU again to demand stuff.
Yeah.
Can you see this? I'm sharing the screen right now. Yeah. Okay.
So, okay, go on. Let's just do. I follow the pound-dollar exchange rate as a barometer for whether Brexit's going well or badly, and at the moment it's going down. Quite convincing.
There was an airline going bankrupt today. Wasn't there?
I
Fly BMI or something in Great Britain.
Okay.
They're gone, and in part because the insecurity of the Brexit situation. But they had other problems. They admitted that, but the major contributing factor was that one.
Well, I've just got no idea where any of this is going to go. And this is the crazy thing is it's a month and a half away, maybe not even that. And
Well,
Dave! Hey, how you doing?
oh, hi,
Hey.
Dave.
Hey everyone.
Seeing as let me show you this. That's what air looks like. That's actually a mass spectrum running of air at the moment. Just in case there was any doubt that there is nitrogen, oxygen, argon, and carbon dioxide.
Nice. So you're just like leaving the port open on your mass spectrometer.
Yeah, it's that thing that sat there in the corner.
Yeah.
And that's the probe there.
No,
So
nice.
So hang on. If I breathe on this, the carbon dioxide jumps.
Sweet. I loved your video on the carbon dioxide, the weight loss. You could get the volume of your gut based on the weight.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I wasn't planning to do that ever. It's just that
Right,
after a
it just
while,
popped out.
you got a couple of years of data like this, and yeah, give it a go.
Yeah, I actually checked your I checked and you were right. The average gut is like two liters. I posted it on the comments of the video. It was actually bang on. Sorry, it was like you were smacking the median of the. Yep.
I'm stunned by that because I mean, to me, it sounds too small.
Right.
Think about it. I mean, 2 liters, supposed to be a liter bottle. You know, 2 of those is really, but I guess it seems big. You know.
Yep. But yeah, like even the minimum and maximums were bang on from what you calculated based on your thing. It was spot on. I posted a link to a paper or something on it, and it was
So this is one of the things that I'm. One of the things I want to do with this thing. One of the first things is when I was doing the breatharian, debunking thing, which I actually started with a load of my colleagues, and I weighed their weight loss over the period of a couple of hours. And there was really quite a lot of variation there. And the weird thing was I lost weight about twice as quick as everyone else. And it's kind of got to be water. But why should I be evaporating? Yeah, it wasn't just the size. And there's part of me that suspects that it's because I originate from a damp island.
Right. I do know that if you have increased bulk in your muscles, so if you do bodybuilding, you have increased muscle bulk, then you do burn calories faster. You do actually do that. Your body naturally burns it quicker.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's like
Thunderfoot the bodybuilder.
Right.
Oh, I'm not beyond it, but well, I mean, you know what I'm going to do with this thing? After I've done a load of the preliminary stuff, there's quite a lot of nuts and bolts on this guy. But you eat the carbon-13, and then you measure when it starts to come out, which on the grand scheme of things, doing a bit of weight training, it's vanilla.
Right. Is this the stuff that costs like a couple of $1,000 for a gram, a couple of grams or something?
That's about right. Yeah.
Right.
And I've done the calculations, and the calculations say it should all work. But it's also one of those things that you don't want to do the experiment too many times. So if I were to get a gram of carbon-13 alcohol, you've got to drink your whatever $2,000 shot. But now you got the dilemma: do you starve yourself before you do this? Do you not?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Do you just drink it after? There's quite a lot of variability here. So.
And I guess it's something that nobody's bothered to do, right?
No.
Is it? Is there any data on?
There have been people who've done it, but they do it on sort of research grants, and even at that, they can't afford to do it that many times because. And on top of that, I, in many ways, if I'm doing it on myself, it's great because I bypass all of the ethical consent things. And if you're employing someone else to do the experiments on, you've then got to monitor them over probably the period of a couple of days. So it's pretty invasive on all sorts of levels. So
right.
I don't know. I'm not through the details yet.
Couldn't you just dilute it down? I mean, you only need like a couple hundred counts on your detector to make it like statistically.
Right. So in principle, this thing goes down to parts per billion. But once you're into that sort of game, you've got to get a big bag of it, and you've got to integrate over long periods of time.
Yeah, it just gives you counts, doesn't it?
Yeah. So in principle, you can do it. But this is the other problem, that if you do get down to that sort of level of sensitivity, after you've done the first experiment, what if my body now incorporates some of this carbon-13, right? So it gets very messy after the first experiment.
I need to wait like a week at least or something.
Exactly, or to actually to reestablish a new baseline.
Yeah. You should put some uranium of your uranium ore in there, because then you will have technically enriched uranium.
It's exactly, oddly enough, exactly on the list of stuff to do.
Ah, there you go.
The one to do is uranium tetrachloride. And the reason uranium tetrachloride is because the fluoride is a pain in the ass to deal with. It's corrosive and nasty. The uranium tetrafluoride is not volatile in any significant way. The chloride is, to the point where you should be able to get enough vapor pressure to do it.
This has to be the best use of Patreon money ever.
Yes.
This is great.
It does. Right? So in principle, to separate the isotopes, all you need is gravity. And so if I have just a glass tube under vacuum and I put my uranium tetrachloride at the bottom, of course, imagine now they're sort of all bouncing around in there. Of course, the heavier ones won't bounce as high. So you actually will, in a vacuum, get a gradient of concentration with height. Now, of course, this gradient is tiny because there's only one G here. So what they usually do is they spin them up in the centrifuges, which gets you 50,000 G, at which point the separation becomes more significant. But what I'm kind of curious about is if I just some off the top and I take some off the bottom and do a comparison, can you actually just see the enrichment from...
I mean, you can run the numbers and see beforehand, but trying is more fun, I guess.
Trying is definitely more fun, and I don't know.
Do I have an email? I can write. It was one of the calculations we had to do for statistical mechanics, so I think I could work it out.
It's a very non-trivial calculation because the vapor pressure of this stuff's pretty low anyway.
Yeah.
And so actually just getting into the mass spec might be, what we were saying earlier about you need enough of it in the vapor phase to at least give you a signal. So that might be tricky.
Well, for calculation, you get it, I think, comes straight from the partition function, or you create like chemical potential or something. I might look it up if I have time.
No, I think you're right. It's trivial. Well,
it's not super trivial, but it's not super hard.
Yeah. Yeah, because you've got the average energy of the molecules, and then you're just changing the potential, gravity potential as you get higher. So it is, there's a sort of, okay, yeah, it's possible.
Yeah. I think you should. Yeah, I should be able to, probably.
Yeah. I've got a suspicion, like Dave was saying earlier, this best use of Patreon money, and might also get you a visit from...
yeah, I was about to say, isn't the government interested if you leach uranium out of your ore with chlorine or fluorine?
So the uranium refining, I don't think is a problem. The enrichment certainly is. So I think it was Cody Labs.
Cody, yeah.
Got a visit from the FBI or something because he was refining, but the refining isn't illegal. The enrichment, they get really antsy now. But I mean, come on. I mean, in many ways, you're right. You put it through a mass spectrometer, you've technically enriched it.
Yeah, but then again, just putting it in a column technically enriches it very slightly.
I think they also got his centrifuge. He got a lab centrifuge, and they confiscated it.
Really? They actually got... That's... Oh, come on.
One lousy centrifuge. One, like, you need a cascade of them. You need a cascade of hundreds.
I mean, you need like 63 kilograms to get a critical mass. It's
ridiculous.
It's not happening.
And on top of that, you need a fairly decent kit just to tell whether you've enriched it or not. So... Yeah, no,
That'd really make the news if you got booted off Patreon because of that. Not booted off because of any political views or whatever, but because you were.
No, it's fine. Once you get to that level, terrific. I'll just sell it on the black market.
Right, yeah.
We're all on the list now. Great.
I was about to say yes. Yeah, let's hope this video doesn't leak.
Oh boy. By the way, I might have to go suddenly if I get a phone call. So
fair enough.
Yeah, if I suddenly vanish, you'll know why. Sorry.
Sure.
So let me just show you what I was doing. Just give me a second. Back.
I just was in Norway and I can show you a video that my sister made. In Tromsø we had really strong northern lights.
Ooh.
Oh, cool.
And
I've always wanted to see that.
This is a real-time video.
Oh, wow.
Wait, taken on a phone?
Yeah,
that's
on her iPhone.
Actually quite impressive. Huh. Phone cameras these days anyway, they're just strangely good.
But still very crap.
Yeah,
if you're into making anything low light, they're just indoor light, they're still pretty crap, you know, compared to
like considering it's like a millimeter aperture or something.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
I made a video too, but mine.
See this?
Oop. It just cut out again. You just cut out for a second. Sorry.
So can you see this?
Yeah.
It's a vacuum-powered steam engine. Right?
Nice.
So the whole thing, everything here is under vacuum, complete vacuum. Yeah. So you see this little vein there, who's not doing anything. Right. So there's vapor pressure of water all throughout this thing. So if I start condensing my water on this side, do this. It's going to take a few seconds to start condensing, and
yeah, there it goes.
Can you? Can't see.
No, not quite.
Not quite.
Just very slowly. There we go. No. Now it goes.
Yay! You're going.
Quite neat. Yeah, it stops now and then.
I can't.
There we go. Now it goes really fast. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. So all powered off a bit of ice, and that's it. That's everything.
Sweet.
This thing was a pain in the ass to make though, because yeah, it's got to be sealed and it's got to have a fairly decent vacuum in it, because if there's any gas in here whatsoever, then the water doesn't transport from one bowl to the other, and that's it. So
are you going to do a video on that?
Yes.
That's just fun. That's great.
Are you going to do an Indiegogo as a new revolutionary way of transportation?
Sorry?
Indiegogo campaign for a new way of transportation. You just need a piece of ice and you're good to go.
So then the next phase is that one just spins, right? So if I would put little magnets on there as well, then you can just bring some coils in from the outside. You can
unlimited power.
I'm not sure whether you'll be able to get enough to actually light an LED.
I think a Peltier element would just be more efficient.
Right. Yeah.
And they're already horribly inefficient.
You could try to power a calculator from it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can. I mean, they're actually used for like heat transport, right? Like heat pipes. They are vacuum tubes with water in it.
Yeah. So, yeah, but this is the other thing that I want to actually go to with this video is I can actually have frozen water in one side, and as long as I make the other side colder, it'll still work really quite well. Because it turns out the vapor pressure of water, right, So you get water in a vacuum, you get saturated water vapor pressure over it, which is about 2% of an atmosphere. Over ice, it's not 20 millibar, it's 4 millibar. So it's still significant vapor pressure over ice. And the vapor pressure just increases with temperature. There's no discontinuity for anything. There's no discontinuity for freezing. There's no discontinuity for 100 degrees. And this is a question that stumps almost every university professor I've come up against, which is, why does then water boil at different temperatures at different pressures, right? Because the vapor pressure of water just goes up and up and up the temperature. There's no discontinuities at all. And the vapor pressure of water doesn't depend on what other gases are there. It's essentially an ideal gas. So why does water boil at different temperatures at different pressures?
Well,
yeah,
it's just
I'll tell you in a second. But
yeah, it boils when the vapor pressure is equal to the surrounding pressure.
That's a criterion. Why should that make any difference at all?
Well, as in, if you change the pressure, then the temperature you require to get that vapor pressure is different.
No. So it turns out what it is boiling is a point where you get spontaneous nucleation. You get little bubbles that form in the liquid, and the vapor pressure in those bubbles is entirely water, entirely steam. And that's the only thing inside those bubbles. The atmospheric pressure pushing on the top, it could be anything, could be a piston, but in this case, it's actually the air molecules hitting the surface is actually what's squeezing those bubbles shut. That's what causes the boiling. Because other than that, if you get the vapor pressure in the bubbles in the steam has to be greater than the pressure pushing on it. So it's one of those weird things that the explanation people usually give is along the lines that it's the water, the air is changing the vapor pressure, but that's not it at all. That makes sense?
Yeah, I guess.
I know zero about
so
I mean, really, it boils when the chemical potential is going to be lower as a gas than the water.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. It's going to be
in which case
that
shouldn't matter at all on what other gases are present. Pressure.
No, it only depends on the pressure around, like the number of particles around, essentially.
Yeah.
Not quite. Yeah, only pressure it should probably turn out to be. I haven't done any statistical mechanics in a year or so.
Okay.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that part about the nucleation.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
So I mean, the thing is that it had been something that bugged me for years. I never really understood why the gas pressure should change the boiling temperature. It's obvious when you actually sort of see it. And the only reason I actually came to that is, remember I did this video about kettles boiling?
Yep.
Once you do that, it becomes obvious.
Well, it seems obvious. I mean, but I didn't know about the nuclear thing.
Yeah, the nucleation. That's basically what it is, because you can get spontaneous nucleation anytime. But the thing is, those bubbles are squeezed shut because there's pressure pushing on the top of the liquid. But the thing is that the pressure inside the bubbles is caused entirely by, well, all pressure is you've got gas molecules hitting something and either bouncing off or sticking to them. So in the inside of those bubbles, it's just steam molecules hitting the side that's actually causing the two to get bigger. And on the top, you've got gas molecules sort of hitting the top, which is sort of squeezing it all together again.
Yeah, I guess statistically it makes sense, but yeah, now that I think about it, like the actual microscopic, action that's going on is not quite obvious.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fair enough. Actually.
I fed this to like loads of people, and they all of them can name the criteria. It's when the vapor pressure is equal to the atmospheric pressure.
Yeah, but why? Okay, fair enough.
Why? Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, that's also on the burner sometimes. So I had the thing is that when does water boil in a vacuum? Yeah, or what's the boiling point of water in a vacuum?
I mean,
it depends on what the vacuum is.
A pure vacuum.
Well, it's zero. It's just it should be zero actually.
Right, but it's not quite that, because you always get some vapor coming off the water.
Yeah, and you've got solids in vacuum as well, so
yeah.
Not everything evaporates.
Yeah.
In a pure vacuum, why is it 0 degrees?
Because there is what we were saying earlier, that when the pressure in the bubble is caused just by the vapor pressure, if there's no vapor pressure pushing on the outside of the liquid, which is what you've got in space, then those bubbles will just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Just keep expanding, right?
So, but the thing is that if you've got a drop of water in space, there will be also water evaporating off the surface, which will actually provide some pressure.
Right.
So it's not.
It shouldn't be quite zero, because there are forces like as in for an ideal gas, yeah, sure, but for an ideal gas, it's always zero. Because if you have intermolecular forces just pulling them together, then it's not going to just expand into infinity. Like even if you just put a gas into space, it's going to form a cloud and stay together, just because it pulls itself together. So actually, it's quite interesting.
One of these ideas I've been kicking around for some time, the bad science in good movies. And people getting flushed into space is always one of those, because water in a vacuum, of course, as all water gas comes off the surface, it gets cold. But that actually takes quite a time. In fact, with this machine here, you're going to stick one side in liquid nitrogen and measure how, because then you've essentially got it. You've got water in space, because all the water that comes over this side condenses solid. And so that means it takes quite a time for the water to cool down, and even longer for it to freeze. And the blood boiling thing doesn't really.
Have to go. Sorry.
Well, see you then. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, I mean, blood boiling, it happens if you get blood in a test tube, but there's actually a huge pressure from your body, sort of keeping it all squeezed down. And the other, and with your lungs, it's true that you'll get all sorts of stuff outgassing from your lungs. But once you've got vacuum in your lungs, you close your mouth, you just get vapor pressure of water in your lungs. And that's it. You don't get any more evaporation from your lungs. So, I don't know. This one, I'm not going to do the experiments on myself.
And please no mice either, please.
I think Hyperloop test subjects will do it for you.
Yes. Oh, I did think, so it turns out the very thing that the, you see that? That's vacuum muffin.
That's quite sophisticated.
It's actually a cheap one from China, but it's quite big. The original reason I got it was to test the NASA quadcopters, the quadcopter or the helicopter they want to fly on Mars.
Yeah.
Because you just put it on a balance or something, and and weigh it as you sort of spin it up in various vacuums.
Oh yeah, but I will never fly. That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
As in, on Earth, it will never fly.
On Earth, yeah. But
Well,
yeah, so
in a plane or something.
one thing that you can do is you just get a slab of meat, stick it in a vacuum or vacuum oven. Not a lot happens. Yeah. It desiccates fairly slowly. Nothing as dramatic as exploding in space, which
Drying fruit with vacuum takes an eternity.
Sorry, what takes eternity?
Drying fruit or flesh in a vacuum. It's
like
faster
freeze drying,
than in air, but not that much.
Yeah.
Well, you can freeze it, and then
you can freeze it, yeah,
and then heat it. That works. As in, freeze it, pump down the vacuum, and then heat it, so it doesn't ever boil. Quite neat. I'm just looking through my books to see if I can find any equation for like a Van der Waals gas or something.
For a what gas?
Van der Waals. Sort of, I have no.
Oh, yes.
No idea how you pronounce it in English.
Yeah, Van der Waals.
Yeah.
Close enough. He's Dutch or something anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's only a model in the end. Also, apparently, it's not always called Van der Waals forces. Sometimes it's called London forces.
Yeah.
But after like a German physicist, for some reason, also was called London.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens, I think, with a lot of more obscure laws and constants and stuff that, depending on the country, you get a different name.
Yeah.
Nobody argues about Newton's laws of motion, but
the last
I just call it intermolecular. Yeah.
The last link I posted is the video I took with my digital camera from the Northern Lights above Tromsø in Norway.
Oh wow!
They were so bright that you could film it with a smartphone and a Digicam.
So I've only ever seen them. Bear in mind, I've been an avid astronomer my whole life. I've only ever seen them once, and that was, north of the Arctic Circle.
I've never seen them.
The past few weeks, it was so strong you could see it a bit below the Arctic Circle.
At some point, you could actually see them in Germany, doing like some solo event or something.
Even in Italy.
But I was sleeping.
So talking of the Northern Lights, I came across another one of Pothole's videos where they said that this was some government conspiracy to cause earthquakes.
Yeah. Oh, speaking about gases and vacuum, the flat earthers have now come up with the atmosphere couldn't exist because there's a vacuum outside and there's no container to hold it in.
Yes.
Let's just ignore that, gravity pulls the gas molecules as well. So even
which is why we don't have
they're going to come back.
Yeah, which is why we don't have hydrogen on Earth, because it's the average hydrogen molecule gets escape velocity.
Yeah.
And
helium as well. Or at least it's stripped away at the top of the atmosphere. The whole helium shortage thing, I haven't found a single reputable source for that. It seems to be all anecdotal.
For the helium shortage.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it makes sense, but is it an actual problem?
I don't know. I know it's bloody expensive.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I visited a few places like the Max Planck, and they spend significant fraction of their budget on things like helium when they want the ultra low temperatures.
Yeah, over here we recover it and we liquefy it. We just have a liquefier. It's cheaper, way cheaper.
The second link is the video that my sister made with her iPhone 5.
Ah, there you go. Oh, it's actually so pretty.
That's much more dynamic than what I saw. But I mean, you know what causes that? It's what is it? It's the electrons bouncing between the north and south pole at more or less the speed of light. Yeah, they just about clip the atmosphere, at which point their journey is over and they release the light.
I think, as far as I have learned on this journey, the fast solar winds produce the fast moving things, and the high density solar winds produce the bright ones.
Oh.
And I think 3 days prior, there was a coronal hole facing Earth. And I think this was the
this is what you get when it hits Earth.
Yeah. I was just staring in the sky, and my mouth was so.
Yeah. So where were you in Trondheim? You say?
Tromsø. Was it? It's about in the middle of the Aurora Oval.
The Arctic Circle?
No, it's the Aurora Oval. You get an oval where the aurora shows, and it's exactly below it.
Ah, okay. So it's like Aurora Central.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, what I did see though was, well, it was almost white nights. I was quite far north in Russia, and the sun was just below the horizon, and it was just about dark. And you could see all the satellites. Because it was just the right time, because usually you only have like half an hour, right? But they reflect enough light so you can see them, or like an hour or something in the evening. And it was kind of during the entire night, and we were, well, Ural Mountains, like probably like 30 kilometers from the next civilization. And you could like see 4 or 5 satellites at any time, just sitting there, just looking into the sky, just see them moving around. And it was quite impressive because there were quite many actually. And there really aren't that many in space, right? Like 10K?
Yeah.
Something like that. Oh, let's Google it. Also, they need to be fairly close so you can see them actually.
These are pictures that my father made.
The Pleiades. Pleiades, it's Taurus, and in this.
It was a relatively slow aurora, and not as bright, but so pretty.
Okay, so there are 800 active satellites, they say, but about 700,000 pieces larger than 1 centimeter.
Yeah. It's the speed that they're going is the scary bit.
Yeah.
Even a low speed collision in orbit is, kilometers per second.
Yeah. It's really not that low speed, yeah.
But that was one of the things that, oh Christ. Am I alone in thinking that most of the stuff that Elon Musk comes out with is sort of sci-fi porn?
Yeah, I mean, some things
are like the space rockets. We'll just fly them 50 times a day, and then we'll be able to make them cheaper than planes.
Yeah, that's a bit weird. I mean, the Falcon 9 itself it's pretty nice if you just want to chuck stuff into LEO, right? As in low Earth.
I mean, some of his pedestrian rocketry stuff's pretty decent.
Yeah, but it's really not more than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same rocket engines that they had. Well, it's not. They built a new rocket engine. But,
yeah, they are.
yeah, I mean, rocket engines are expensive, and he basically did it on Uncle Sam's dollar.
Yeah.
And
apparently, it doesn't allow for much customization for your satellites or for your missions. It's just really good at putting stuff into normal orbits.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is fair.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Well, some guys in Germany from the automotive industry took apart some of his cars, the Model 3 cars, and they were pretty impressed about how efficiently those can be produced when compared to the ones they have. So from a manufacturing point of view, they were pretty impressed because Elon Musk the cars, they seem to use much more standardized parts. It's far easier to produce than any electric cars that they have at BMW or something.
Looking at tolerances on the Model 3, though, I wasn't very impressed. Like, seriously, you have a centimeter gap on one side, and on the other side it's touching. It's like, why? But like in terms of mechanical parts, they're not bad, obviously. Batteries are just it's just batteries, but
big.
Yeah, I guess no one is taking away from Elon Musk that he really put it new, I don't know, look on electric cars. I knew guys that wouldn't look at electric cars 10 years ago.
Yeah,
now they think that electric car can be sexy, can be powerful. But besides that, I also personally think that Elon Musk is doing some kind of social experiment, just checking out how crazy he can get.
Definitely very good at marketing. It's just whenever there is something new which seems to be too good to be true, and it's like, oh, we have done something else, and therefore nothing else is a problem, and we have only advantages. I always get a bit skeptical, because whenever you design something, you have to take downsides into consideration, which is fair, right? It's just,
When you're good at marketing, you can sell the people a piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Sell refrigerators to the Eskimos.
Yeah. Because until, say, 2 months ago or something like that, I was also thinking, oh, Falcon 9, essentially best thing ever, right? It turns out that they use non-aerospace parts, for example, to save costs and stuff like that, which is fine, but obviously lowers reliability and so on. I'm not sure what to think about it. Apparently, they can't necessarily fly over some patches of the Pacific because of the higher radiation exposure there. There's like a bit where you get higher radiation because of not radiation hardened flight controllers and things like that. The
Van Allen, you get the Van Allen belts, but and that they'll certainly whack. Most satellites fly to avoid the Van Allen belts because if you go into them, you do need radiation hardening.
Yeah, exactly. And there's it's like a patch over the Pacific where it's fairly strong or something like that. But I mean, if you can avoid it, then that's pretty fair, right? It's designed for that, and that's all right. It's just, not mentioning that feels meh. Also, like where was it? Was it Model S? The Tesla that flew to Mars. It didn't fly to Mars.
Yeah.
I mean, it flew past Mars, which is still extremely impressive.
Yeah.
It's just just say that. But Oh, but I mean, he's fairly funny, I must say. The whole stuff on Twitter. It's like, all right.
Oh yeah. Well. Yeah.
Yeah, but until you realize some people just follow him like he's I don't know, almost a god.
Like he's Iron Man.
Yeah, exactly. You put it like that. A colleague from work once said to me that after, I don't know, this whole Falcon Heavy landing, his great success, that next thing he's going to create an Iron Man suit. Right? And like fully believing it, like it's taken for granted. He can do anything. Everything he says is like going to happen.
But I think the dude himself is actually pretty all right. I mean, there's some things which are very sketchy when it comes to like workers in the Tesla factories and stuff like that. But generally, I think it's more that the media hypes it.
Yeah, I mean they certainly feed into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they sort of hang on his every word because they know that it's what people want to hear. That,
and yeah,
that we're all going to be traveling by Hyperloop within 5 years, when currently England can't even build a high-speed rail network.
Or sort out their politics.
Would be a beginning when they just weld their rails. Most are not welded.
Yeah.
What's the top speed in Great Britain you can travel by train?
It's about 100 miles per hour, that sort of thing. 150 kilometers. No.
Okay.
I know.
Thankfully, we have Google.
Not that bad.
The UK is. Oh, no, I don't want to. Only find it in the world. Speedway on the UK.
Well, you have those places where you can go 270 kilometers per hour in Germany, but that's not
one or two lines. Yeah, you can't do corners at that speed.
Yeah, and it's not every connection you can do this speed on. So
a lot of the regional railways are pretty slow, but then again, it doesn't really make that much difference if they're fast or slow because they're not going that far.
And they stop a lot and stuff.
Yeah.
I have a question. I was in Norway and I constantly watched on my watch, and basically there was about half the radiation, the background radiation, than we have here. But I don't know why.
Where was that?
In Norway.
Okay.
It was 0.05 microsieverts an hour.
Oh, 0.5.
0.05.
That's pretty low, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in Kiev, I got 0.08 or something like that. Obviously in Chernobyl a little more, but it was generally less in like Russia and that area than here in the UK. But then again, Germany does have uranium and thorium. And
Finland's pretty radioactive, and there's parts of Czechia that are pretty. All the uranium for the Russian bombs came from Czechoslovakia, and the American ones. America's got quite a lot of uranium, but nowadays I think they mostly get it from Australia.
Yeah.
Good uranium mines there.
Yep.
So I'm curious. Australia's got loads of sun, yeah.
Tons of sun. It's the sunburnt country, they call it. Yep.
But is there nuclear power there as well, or is it?
No, we have zero nuclear power.
Okay.
Zero.
Is that because people don't like it, or?
It's because it was like it's tried to go through there's been a few parliamentary, inquests into whether we should do it or something over the years, but generally we just don't care. We're a plentiful country. We've got so much coal, like it's just coming out of our assholes. We just don't. Yeah, and we've got such a low population as well that
it's 20 million.
Any form of pollution. 20. We just over 20 million, something like that. Yeah, and we're the size of the entire North American continent. So with only 20 million people, yeah. Yep. So, yeah, the old nuclear debate. In fact, I was just talking to somebody on the phone about that, which is my childhood hero just called me. I'm very excited. Literally, my childhood hero called me up and asked my advice on starting a channel, starting a YouTube channel. Anyway, he's a very prominent Australian, hugely prominent here, and he's now pro-nuclear energy and stuff like that. So he's jumping on that bandwagon, and he's also thinks that Australia's got too many people. We're letting in too many people as well. So you know, it's because our life, we enjoy our lifestyle here. So everyone who comes to Australia, unfortunately, they want to live in Sydney or Melbourne. They want it. So Sydney and Melbourne now are getting very overpopulated. Well, by our standards, very overpopulated. You know, so yeah.
But how does is water a problem there?
Water is a problem. Here in Sydney, we've got one major dam. And for example, Sydney is an example, but we forked out, I don't know how many billions it was for a big desalination plant just in case, you know, and that's all powered by wind energy and stuff like that. But we've never actually had to use it yet. It's there as a backup, you know, but Australia is, 1 year it's flooding, the other year it's drought. You know, we just don't know. It's, So
and is
a problem.
Is the Great Barrier Reef still dying?
It's borderline dead. If you want to see the Great Barrier Reef, do it now because there's not much left. Unfortunately, it's all been bleached. A lot of that's due to climate change. The oceans are just warming up, and it only takes a 0.5 degree increase.
That's
for all the coral. Yeah, that's it. You know, it's gone. So a lot of people are saying it simply cannot be saved. And it's just all bleached. It's all white now. None of these spectacular colors anymore.
It's sad,
it's very sad. But you know, there are a lot of incidents of companies like dumping stuff into the oceans as well, which is causing a problem as well. And we've fined some large companies for doing that. But it may not be able to stop. It may be beyond our control. Just the 0.5 degree ocean rise. Boom.
We still continue using coal over nuclear because nuclear bad.
Although, I had some fairly heated arguments with people about electric cars. Because I mean, for the large part, the electric cars were okay; they got their place. But turns out one of the big problems is that the global warming is everything in global warming that we get at the moment is about a 1 part in 1,000 increase in the energy that we receive over what we normally do, right? So we usually get about 1,000 watts per square meter, and now we're getting an extra watt out of that. Now, in reality, if you just factor in what we're getting extra from the carbon dioxide that we put into the atmosphere, it's 3 watts. It's 3 times bigger than what we're getting. But the reason that we don't see it is that when you burn your coal and all that, you put aerosols into the atmosphere, and those counteract the effect of the carbon dioxide by about 1 watt. So we're actually putting, hang on if I got that right, about half of the global warming is offset by the aerosols that you put into the atmosphere. However, if you stop burning the fossil fuels, you don't get the aerosols anymore, and they vanish very quickly. Whereas the carbon dioxide, of course, sits around for hundreds of thousands of years because it takes a long time to be sequestered. If it goes into trees, they live for 100 years, then they die and they release it. It's not really any long-term storage there.
So you're saying chemtrails? That's what we need.
Chemtrails.
Well, no, it's one of these things that if you actually stop burning it's the Faustian deal with the devil, that you've got to keep burning the fuel to get the particulates to, otherwise you're going to get an even bigger heating from the.
But I mean, the coal power plants we have now, they're already insanely good at filtering out.
I think this is mostly from the cars.
Yeah, I see. Fair enough.
Yeah.
They talk about the global dimming effect.
It's if you look at radiative forcing and the actual the rough dimensions, actually, yeah, that's it. We get 2 extra watts from the carbon dioxide that we're putting in the atmosphere, and you get about 1 watt back reflecting heat from the aerosols. So we can almost double the global warming if we cut the aerosols.
Oh, I know how to get enough aerosols in the air to counteract it completely.
More sodium explosions will do it.
Oh, no, I think Yellowstone would fit.
Yeah, I was just we need more volcanoes.
Volcanoes.
Or we just push this Earth a little further away from the sun.
The interesting thing is that I used to work in the oil industry a decade or 2 back, and of course the fear was then we're running out of oil, peak oil, all that sort of thing. Now we're so awash with oil. It's just like it's so cheap. It's ridiculously cheap and plentiful, and all the new technologies to find and extract and refine it all, and all the new shale oil technology and all that sort of stuff. It's
oil sands.
Unfortunately, it's dirt cheap, and that's a problem with getting rid of it. It's just it's so cheap, and as you did in your video, Phil, it's so energy dense.
Everyone wants to live in Australia because oil is cheap there. It's
no, it's not. No, it's expensive here. Oil's expensive.
What do you pay for, like, per liter?
Petrol. We pay $1.50 a liter. Sometimes it goes up to near $2 a liter.
Yeah, that's. About
the same as in Germany, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. How much is it in Germany currently?
Yeah, but we are not. We don't have cheap petrol either. So.
Yeah. It's mostly the US, isn't it? Oh, I mean, in Russia it was quite cheap, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, Russia, obviously.
Well, in my region, you only have to set up a pump, and you can pump about 5 kilometers in this direction. There is the a facility that processes crude oil, and they had a leak over years, and basically they lost about 380,000 liters of oil of kerosene in the soil.
Oh,
and didn't
oopsie
notice.
daisy.
Yeah,
happens.
Congratulations.
You were talking about water before, Phil, the scarcity of water. My wife's an environmental scientist. She used to work for Sydney Water, which is the water authority here. And the amount of water that's lost in the system, amount of fresh, potable drinking water that's lost due to, it is phenomenal. If you look at the number, you'll go, what? We're wasting, 100 million litres a year or something of...
Yeah. I remember seeing a similar stat for Britain that 40% of the water is lost in the pipes. Or, it was a unholy number like that.
Yeah, it's huge.
And you think that can't be right, and then you realise that actually some of these places are still on sort of Victorian water transport systems, and they've just not upgraded it since it was built 100 years ago.
Yeah,
but I mean, they must be sterile, so they must inspect them, right?
No, they just they flush chemicals down there. They flush. They actually flush ferric chloride down. They actually include like 0.2% ferric chloride in the drinking water at the plant so that it cleans the pipes out and stuff like that. I used to use ferric chloride to etch my circuit boards, to etch copper off my circuit boards.
I was just going to say, isn't that a problem with copper pipes?
No, I used Kubrick.
Okay, in Australia, you can just take tap water and boil 1,000 liters down and etch your circuit
boards. Heat it up and etch your boards in.
I imagine like a tutorial video on YouTube for that. Or you just take your tap water and put your PCB in it.
I would really try that.
Oh, you just gave me a great idea for this year's April Fool's video. That is awesome because it's a fact. I can get my wife on who's a water scientist and she can say, yes, we put ferric chloride into the water and I can show people all you got to do is heat it up and agitate it and you can etch your boards. I have to write this down. I got to write.
I won't tell anyone.
Okay.
I won't tell anyone.
Oh, that is great. That is actually really good.
I love that.
Do they actually do that every year, though? Because I recently figured out that, well, here in the UK, in Oxford, they put, what is it, chloramides or something like that in the water? They essentially just bubble chlorine through it and then neutralize it. But in Germany, apparently, they use ozone or something like that, which is a bit different.
Ozone is a bit better because it decomposes and
it doesn't leave anything.
Basically, nothing is left.
Yeah, UVC they use and ozone then in the end, but it doesn't stick around. That's the thing. Once it's gone, it's. I mean, if it's sterile, obviously nothing can grow. But it still seems. Yeah. But there was a case in Germany where they actually advised to not drink the drinking water for a bit. Heidelberg. But
they had the problem that the water from the tap was
blue,
purple.
Yeah, purple-blue it was. I don't think they have released anything yet.
Yeah, it's a mystery.
Yeah.
The thing is, to actually get it so the tap water has colour.
It's very slight. It was very slight.
Yeah, but even for very slight, you still need quite a lot of stuff dissolved. I mean, if you think of it, that's all of the water. You're going to have tons of the stuff in there.
Well, I guess a kilogram of potassium permanganate would have done it.
No.
But maybe just coloring something. I don't know. Like food colors or something. I don't know.
When you're talking about colouring the water supply, you need truckloads of the stuff.
Oh, it's a fairly small city. It's not that big.
If it would be green, I would think it's
copper or something. Yeah, they did say something about just being iron, just from the source, just happened to be high in iron that day, or something like that. But I haven't heard anything official. The thing is, after like 5 hours, they were just like, "Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it."
It's fine. Don't sue us.
Yeah. No, initially they were like, "Yeah, stop it, don't drink it and stuff." But then a few hours later, they said it's all okay. People went absolutely crazy, and they bought all the bottled water from the supermarkets and stuff like that.
The sodium salt of fluorescein does.
That's green, but it's
and you only need a few kilograms to color an entire river.
Yeah,
they've done that. Yeah.
It's really cheap on eBay.
Yep, I got. I don't even know where it is, but I got a load of it because it's got really fantastic optical properties. In the you shine light on it, of course, it glows green. But if you shine it through, of course, green is the only one that doesn't come through. So it's red when you look at it, but green when it's coming back.
Yeah.
Leon, but coloring the water supply of a small town is not a good April Fool's prank. Okay.
I didn't think about this.
Phil, because you're a chemist, would you? Sorry.
I was carrying sometime a glass vial with a bit of it to sometimes color a fountain in the city.
How to guess it?
Oh no!
101.
Where is it? Amsterdam with the little boy, the pissing little boy, the famous statue of the pissing boy.
That's Brussels, I guess. The mannequin piss. Mannequin piss. I don't make this stuff up.
Well,
does anyone have any idea how I can make an April Fool's video about that convincing? Because because it's such minuscule quantities they put in. Do I just leave it there for a week or something and go, and agitate it for a week, or is there any other? Can I process it somehow? Can I process the water somehow to
stirring vigorously? Right, you just put it in a blender and leave it for 20 minutes and say that makes the iron come out.
Ah, right.
Or put like a bubbler in it, just like like an aquarium pump, and put it in there.
There you go. Yeah, stirring vigorously enhances the electrolytes.
Right.
There you go.
And so yeah, you can see them better when you stir vigorously. And they're just a little seamless, crossfade and.
Right. Well, I was thinking about, of course, you can't just use the water, obviously. So probably I'll put in some ammonium persulfate crystals because they work, right? And I think from memory, they're completely colorless. So you mix it in, and it's and you shouldn't know. So just a couple of little fade in the video, and I'll
Well, maybe like stirring it counterclockwise for an hour or something.
No, that's Dave. You have to remind people to stir anti-clockwise if they want it to work in the southern hemisphere.
Southern hemisphere,
and so you need your specially wired blender because
right, you've got to reverse the blender to
Well, it is a legit thing that is being done to put like a aquarium bubbler in there and leave it for a few weeks if you do it for gold. So maybe that works or something like that.
You can use hydrochloric acid.
Yeah, and a bubbler to actually do it.
To etch. You basically just need hydrochloric acid and a source of oxygen. You can also put in some
hydrogen peroxide.
I etched my circuit boards with hydrogen peroxide and hydrochloric acid.
It even regenerates itself because the copper 2 chloride you get also etches. It's quite neat, but there's really no point in doing it anymore. You can get like 10 boards from China for like £2.
$2 delivered.
I still do it though for like aluminium boards or stuff like that because you just can't get them.
Yeah.
We were talking about homeopathy earlier. Maybe you could, maybe you could mix in something about water having good memory. Having good memory or something. That would be really great.
You could even say you take the tap water and then actually dilute
really
it.
great.
You get your tap water and you dilute it with distilled water. Eventually, it will etch the circuits.
Yeah, no, if you dilute it, it's going to be twice as fast. Because you know.
Effective.
No. No, off you go and make your video.
Dave, ammonium perchloride is free to buy in Australia?
Ammonium persulfate is the etchant here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Ammonium persulfate,
Okay.
Because perchlorides,
Right. But as you said, there's just no point doing it yourself anymore. Like,
I still do it now and then.
Yeah. Maybe if you need it like in an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
If you need it now, you can make your own PCB in an hour. But like when you can get one professionally made, with all the bells and whistles for $5 delivered.
That's what stuns me is I can get it from China and delivered, usually cheaper than I can get it posted within Europe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. You want to know why China postage is so cheap? It's this international agreement, and I can't remember the name of it. There is a formal international agreement with China and many other countries and China Post, where it's subsidized by the Chinese government. And I'm gonna have to try and find it. But yeah, it's a formal international agreement, which is why you can get all your farting gadgets from China for $2 delivered or 50 cents. You can buy stuff on eBay for $1 delivered.
I did that today. I bought like just 3.5 millimeter like audio jacks.
Yeah.
Just to solder at 10 pieces for like $2 or something like that.
So I mean, this is what gets me. I mean, there's part of me says this party can't go on forever.
Yeah.
I mean, someone. I mean, you just think about it. I don't know what minimum wage is, but what did you say? $2 for 10 jacks, and for that, someone has to dig the.
I once ordered 10 buttons, regular shirt buttons, for
but they
60 cents delivered.
They don't make a profit on them. So there's
even
a trade war we can wage that way. Order a lot of stuff that's really subsidized hard and have the Chinese go bankrupt.
This year are 1,000 transistors, small signal transistors, and with delivery it cost me about €6.
Wow.
Insane. That's insane.
So you're going to say we're going? Well, no. Essentially, what you're saying is we're going to buy transistors and make China pay for it.
This year are about 50 3-watt LEDs, and they costed me €1.
Delivered.
Yeah, delivered.
Delivered.
So really, the US should just buy that wall from China and have China pay for it.
Deliver it to Mexico.
Yeah.
The same with elements.
Oh,
Peltiers.
Oh, that's great.
Someone's making self-filling quadro bottle?
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to build an ion chamber with
I wanted to do one of those, and there are videos people doing it. You've got to at least double stack your Peltiers to do it, because you're going to get down to minus 30 or something, and you've got to have huge heat sinks on the backside.
And the second one needs to be much larger than the first one. Stuff like that.
I tried it with.
Okay, he goes off.
With this heatsink, but it has not enough thermal mass to put it directly on here. So what I bought was copper plates.
Yeah, copper plates good.
But they are not plain enough. So I have to mill them down or file them. Maybe.
Yeah, file won't be flat enough, I think. It will.
I already filed them, but about an hour of filing with copper is not enough.
Yeah, it just jams up your file as well, doesn't it?
Soft, too soft.
But Thunderfoot, I don't think I agree with batteries staying as bad as they are.
I don't see them getting any better. I mean, it's when you actually take a look at the
getting much better.
Yeah.
Not going to get much better. Not hugely. It's going to be incremental. 1-2%.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Stuff. It's not.
I mean, there's some technologies which are quite promising though. They have even been done already. I mean, in 2008, Boeing flew like a drone for a couple of days on sulfur lithium batteries, which are insanely light.
They're one-off. But even at that, you take a look at the apex of what the chemistry can do. I think it's the lithium oxygen battery. It's basically top of that. You're never going to do better than that.
Do they?
And it's first of all, you got all sorts of problems like volume change that you don't really want with a battery.
Yeah, that's why lithium silicon isn't a thing. It gives you 10 times the density we have now, but it also expands by like 3 times its starting volume.
Yeah, and you start losing rechargeability and stability and all sorts of other stuff. So yeah, I mean, for stable rechargeable, I mean, you might get 10% of what we've got at the moment, but it's not going to be.
Well, lithium sulfur is the thing, and you get like 20% extra at a density which is close to that of water, which is really neat. It's just it hasn't really been done yet. But then why hasn't it really been done? There must be some kind of reason, right?
And then of course the big problem is that it doesn't lose weight. That's the problem. It's heavy at the start, it's heavy at the end.
Yeah.
Like for flying, never. It doesn't make sense at all.
It's just and for it's why the Tesla truck is never going to happen, because the Tesla truck, if you run the numbers on it, I was going to do a video on this, but it was like it's like 10 ton of batteries or something.
Yeah.
And it's already So even when you've lost 10 ton of capacity, of carrying capacity right off the bat, you know.
And then you take a look at the things that they can't do is recharging quickly. And they're heavy.
Obviously.
Yep.
So a truck is just a bad idea.
Yep. It's terrible. I want to, on my list of videos to do, there's a company up in Queensland, North Australia here, who actually design and manufacture here in Australia, which is surprising, those fast chargers, those, you know, Tesla type fast chargers. And apparently they're phenomenal technology just to get that much energy so quickly into a car battery. And it's still not quick enough by an order of magnitude.
They're all sort of programmed sort of spikes,
It's nuts. And the physical connectors, there's only so much current you can put through they have to design these special connectors before they melt because of the contact resistance. It's just
how much power would you put in there anyway? It's like 20 kilowatts or something, isn't it?
20 kilowatts or something like that.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so they have to use, you know, these multiple contacts and spread across and specially designed.
Do they step it up and then just use high voltage
and the higher voltage? But of course, there's a limit to how much high voltage you can use before you get the you know dielectric breakdown and stuff. And
safety, obviously.
So, it's crazy.
Oh, that's quite annoying, isn't it?
You know, while I was working for Samsung a few years ago, they said they had a prototype lithium-ion that using mostly graphene or electrodes, and supposedly it had 80% more capacity.
Graphene, the magic.
Yeah, but you know, I don't know how much of it is true. It was internal message board, so it's not like in public knowledge. I mean, but even if they get like 30% more, right?
I know.
Besides the price of the final price of the battery.
I mean, 30% would be revolutionary, I think. I mean,
it
would be an instant $1 billion patent.
Yep.
Well,
the thing is,
your battery costs more than your phone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, lithium batteries already almost doubled in capacity though since they started out in in the beginning in 2000s. Right. So
but that's still a long time. That's like 20 years. They've doubled. They've only doubled in capacity. But if you expect them to double again, you're kidding yourself. You know, it's sort of acetoping towards.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're getting as much bang for the buck as you can out of the.
You have to radically change the tech.
But we already made
but even then.
I mean, it's not like completely off the table. I mean, we did the step from nickel batteries to lithium. And that essentially gave us an order of magnitude better, didn't it? So obviously,
I think it's even an order of magnitude.
No, it's not an order of magnitude. No, per volumetric density.
Yeah.
No, it's not an order of magnitude. If you're talking about current ability, that's why drones. That's what has made drones so successful. Is the ridiculously low impedance of the lithium-ion batteries. Which you couldn't get with other with the previous technology. That's what's enabled the drones because they draw so much current. You know, 30 amps from the battery.
Or the empty
5 minutes. But in terms of actual volumetric energy density, it's not an order of magnitude. If you compare like just like
lead acid battery.
There were some drones that used nickel cadmium, but it drew about 40 amps out of one.
You can. You have to use NiCad, but their volumetric efficiency is very poor.
Also, that kind of toxic.
It works, but and weight as well. They'd be a greater weight. Definitely. So
that's why you can play with this for about 5 minutes, and then this thing is down.
Yeah, but that's why lithium sulfur is so interesting because it will give you a worse power density.
Well, they were talking about putting those on the lunar rover. Sodium. They were talking about sodium sulfur batteries, I think.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, the problem is, sulfur is not very conductive, or like at all. So it's a bit of an issue. So what I do is like. What is it?
It's also going to be molten, which
it's like graphite coated sulfur nanoparticles and stuff like that. It gets expensive very quickly. I know a couple of material scientists that work on that stuff, but
So
what do you
just
think
in
about
case-
the molten salt energy storage?
Molten salt for
like large scale energy storage, like those big thermal reflector
those things.
farms, and they heat up molten salts and
Yeah, I know the
and
ones.
store the energy so that you can store it during the day and then use it as a baseline thing at night, kind of stuff.
So I've heard mixed things over them that they can take. The thing is, they cool off during the night, and so when you start them up in the day, you've got to burn quite a lot of gas just to actually melt the salt in the first place. After that, they're not so bad. But if you read the wiki page, they performed according to spec, which was reasonable. Yeah, not sort of revolutionary, not.
It's not a game. It's not a game changer. It's part of the overall. Yep.
And for certain, if you've got somewhere in the middle of the desert where you've got infinite amounts of sun and lots of space and don't give a shit. Yeah,
Welcome to Australia. Yep.
Yeah. Well, why not? I mean,
I know. Well, apparently there's been a study done that we have enough geothermal energy plus solar energy in the middle of the country to power the entire country forever. It's like it's just an infrastructure problem. It's a there's it's just constant geothermal energy that's there 24/7. We've got more than enough to replace all our energy needs forever. But it's a
long way from anywhere.
It's just a long way from anywhere.
It's like we've got geothermal energy in New York, and we all live in Los Angeles.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the trouble.
So if you think Elon Musk's not the only billionaire who wanted to sort of be a philanthropist, but came out with some really crazy ideas. There's the guy who made the 5-hour energy drink, also became a billionaire. And he had a video out called Billions in Change. And guess what one of his ideas was?
Oh, God.
Graphene. They were going to use graphene, which, of course, is a almost perfect conductor of heat. And they were going to sink it down hundreds of kilometers to basically harvest
hundreds of kilometers.
Yeah. And the one minor things, the biggest piece of graphene that's been made is microscopic, and even they were going on about the quantum ability to transport energy. You've still got to get the energy out. I mean, the whole thing was completely gaga on so many levels.
Also, if you just put a heat pump there and just dig 10 meters down, you already can get the 30 kilowatts from 3 kilowatts of electrical power. It's that's how heat pump heaters work. It's I don't get the reason to go down. You don't need the high temperature.
He seemed to think that they did. It's been a while since I've watched it. I mean, he had this other idea that he was basically going to give people exercise bikes with dynamos on in the third world, and they were going to use this to power their lights, because they don't have electricity. And you simply did, the back of the envelope calculations, that in terms of greenhouse gases, using people as hamsters in dynamo wheels is a very shitty way. You generate less carbon dioxide if you just give them diesel generators. And it's one of the most trivial calculations to do. The amount of energy you run on about 100 watts. So you're putting out, the equivalent of whatever burning fat, oil, and 100 watts is your baseline. Of that, there aren't many watts that you can transform into electrical energy. And then you compare this to sort of a gas generator where you get sort of 30% out of them.
I saw that thing, and I think the light that was on this generator was
8 watts or something.
Yeah, no, less.
It was like a flashlight.
And all you had to do was pedal for 1 hour per day, and you could charge your smartphone, and it's like that's nothing. I mean, look it up sometime. Billions in Change it was called. There were giant exercise bikes. The thing must have cost $1,000 or something, and now the poor people can have electricity to charge their low power electrical devices.
In Amsterdam, there are bikes. And on Amsterdam Airport, there are bikes where you can plug in your phone charger and pedal for charging your phone.
There's a PowerPoint right next to it. Right.
The reality is, of course, yes, they don't charge it at all. It's they just like watching people get some exercise in the airport.
I use this thing just for fun. Sadly,
for this charging, what you said about giving bicycles with dynamo to people in third world countries, you probably would count the carbon footprint of creating all those machinery.
It's insane.
You would probably, not even return in hundreds of years, yeah.
But on the flip side, this guy was a self-made billionaire who went from basically nothing. He came up with this one idea and became a billionaire, and then decided to give it all away to help poor people, which is wonderfully philanthropic and such like. It's just that's not how you help people.
It reminds me of the one laptop per child, if you remember that campaign, where they were going to, all these rich billionaires were going to, form this non-profit company. Yes, so that's what they need. They don't worry about fresh drinking water and clean water and nutritious food. No, they need a laptop. That's what they need. Yeah, so that failed miserably.
Not even sure if my children need a laptop at school.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they don't.
Yeah.
In subject of carbon footprint, for years there were like a list of things you could do to decrease your carbon footprint, and like less using more organized transport and something like that. But from 2017, the first point is have fewer children.
Yeah, right.
I mean, yeah, it's true.
I once had an idea to build the pedal bikes in a training room, so you can power the lights in the training room from the bikes.
So as soon as you hop off, it just goes dark.
No, you store it in batteries with an inverter.
No. You store it in a graphene-powered supercapacitors.
I did it wasn't a full debunking video. I was on my second channel. I just did like a rant on a live show, and I split it off, put it on my second channel. It was about this PaveGen system that if you haven't PaveGen, you walk on these things and it generates, like you can build a dance floor out of it, and it powers the whole thing, and you just run basic numbers on it, and it's crap. It's called PaveGen. Are they still going? I wonder.
I don't know. Tell me, because periodically people send that to me.
They're still there. Well, the website's still there, but I don't. There we go. I'll put the link up. PaveGen, and it's like.
Well, in the next children's Christmas, when you have a bouncing castle, maybe you can generate some energy.
And when people have been talking about incorporating that into the solar roads as well, in fact, they did a trial where they got these buses in this bus lane or something, where they were harvesting the energy from the buses or whatever, and it was like. But this PaveGen thing, if you ran, like they gave you these numbers that that we installed on this dance floor and it produced this X amount of energy. And it was like, it was the equivalent of putting one 200-watt panel on your roof for like an hour or something, but it required people dancing for like 5 hours straight, like 200 people dancing for like 5 hours to get the same amount of energy. Like it was just silly. And of course, you know,
the cost of manufacture is just crazy.
It's silly.
I once read about an idea that someone once wanted to take some of the stretchy piezoelectric bands to make clothes from it. So when you walk through the flex of your you can charge your
that's
phone.
an energy harvesting thing. That's one of the energy harvesting methods, along with vibration and, you know, all sorts of other crap.
Well, the thing is, it's a legit thing. It's just for very niche applications.
Just run the numbers, but it's barely enough to power a fart, let alone.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Maybe a microcontroller which wakes up like once a day or something.
Once a day or something. It's, you know, all these remote sensor tech and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, for that it's fair, but it's like charging a phone takes a lot of power. It's
like one of my big debunking things was the U-beam, the using ultrasonics for wireless charging, and it's like, and the company has basically just admitted no, it doesn't work, and it's and the company's going to pivot to the Internet of Things, you know, energy harvesting type thing, and they're just like.
So they folded up. They are finished with the ultrasonics.
No, they're still using the ultrasonics, but they realize that they can't charge a phone with it. You just run the numbers on it, and it's not legal. It's not legal because it's got to be 145 dB, and the legal limits are like 110 dB in terms of ultrasonic energy being safe. And it's like, yeah. In fact, I'm meeting up with 2 of the original designers from U-beam next week. I mean, they're coming to see. And even there's a guy, the former engineering director at this company, has his own blog, and where he tears the technology apart. And he was the former head technical, vice president of technology at U-beam. And the only reason he's joined is because it was fun, and some other people joined, and it was just like. Just this fun place to spend someone else's money while doing all this cool research. You know, they knew it was never going to work, but they.
But I mean, the amount of energy you can transfer by sound, it's almost non-existent. I mean, forget ultrasound. What if you just have a 50-watt speaker or something? Yeah, with the R² thing.
The efficiency is actually down in like the sub 0.1% category. So it's like, yeah, that's what you need. That's what the world needs, is a 1 kilowatt charger to charge a phone. You know, it's like, yeah, that's what we need.
I have an idea.
I recently heard of that they want to some company wants to replace the batteries in phones with antennas. And they power the phones above RF.
I debunked that like 9 years ago. That was my first ever debunking video, was harvesting Wi-Fi signals to charge your battery. I've debunked it a couple of times since, and once again, it's a real technology. It does work, right? But it's just. It's just not practical for anything but the most ultra low power device.
How about the phone charger you have to scream into?
You know, a 5 watt-hour battery. No, it takes forever.
I don't have a source on this, but there was this company that was making these devices that you could put in a fire and get electricity from that.
Oh, yes, someone wanted me to debunk that. Yeah.
There are some like that, but really old.
Wasn't it a Peltier thing?
I think there was a Peltier thing, but the one I was reading about was a little different than Peltier and supposedly had more efficiency. I didn't know anything about it, and I tried to do
it's a Peltier device, but
it reminds me of the thermocouples. There were some lamps. You put a fire below it, and you have basically thousands of thermocouples in a tube. And the heat from the flame heats them all up, and you get power from it.
But technically, it's not just the heat. You transport heat through the wires, and the other end of the thermocouple will heat up. It's tiny, but it does happen.
I swear this one was a little different than thermocouple. If I could, I'll try to find the source again.
Right. I think the designer of this actually emailed me wanting to, prove his technology or something. I'm sure of it. It was a couple of years back. Trying to find it, but yeah, I think one of the, I'm not sure if it's the one you're talking about, but yeah, I do recall that this guy was, I was emailing the guy in charge, like the head designer at the head crackpot at this company who was doing this.
The word I want to use, and I'm not sure if it's correct, was like something fuel cell-esque.
Oh,
yeah, I have more information.
Fair enough. So it uses like the free hydrogen or something in the flame,
Well, I was about to say, once you got a fire, you got a pretty decent energy source there. There are a million ways that you can just turn raw heat like that into something useful.
If you've ever sat in front of a fireplace, you'll know how much energy it puts out. It's massive.
Yeah.
But there was another one of these $1 million Kickstarters, and it was basically for a Peltier-powered self-winding watch.
Peltier. Oh, self-winding. I debunked the one that used
self-charging.
Yes, I did a debunking video on that. That debunked the Peltier watch. Yeah, I've done that.
And that was another one of these sort of million. I think it was another $1 million Kickstarter.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Who are these fucking idiots who throw money at stupid ideas like this?
People want to believe.
There was actually an IARPA BAA that came out a while ago, and they had like a request for information. And one of the companies that put in their request for information was one of these kind of Peltier type recharging devices. And I actually needed to get information from that from the RFI responses a while ago. I went and looked into it, and they had removed that company from their list of RFI responses.
Yeah, there you go. I just posted the link to my debunking video of that. I think from memory, as it turns out, thermal-powered smartwatches are gimmicks. As it turns out, it does work. Once again, it works, but you can't
get the thermal gradient.
I know. It would not only that, but even if you could, the energy you get out of it is exactly the same as putting in a single CR2032 battery. It'll last like for 4 years and for a couple of years. So a single C-cell battery, like a little standard lithium primary battery, it gave the same amount of energy, even if it did work properly. Like it was just.
I'm actually really tempted now, just to actually stick a Peltier device, just measure the.
I've got. I actually shot some footage of me actually riding my bike around with this heatsink and this Peltier device on my wrist, and it just never it all went wrong, and I didn't get good data out of it, so I never.
You've got to do that because this is going to come up again and again.
I know. I was going to include that in that debunking video, but I just never got the good data out of it, so I never used the footage of me. like I had my multimeter loggers and everything strapped to my bike and everything. I was riding around and.
Then there was the one that had the exact same thing in reverse. It was the personal air conditioning watch.
Oh God!
Which was basically it was a Peltier device that you strap to your wrist.
I think there's some actual science behind that where it makes you feel cooler. It doesn't actually cool you down. It does get in cold on the back of your wrist or whatever. And if you make the back of your wrist cold, there's some science that says it makes your body feel cooler and your response systems react to it or something. So it's based on a kernel of truth, like it always is, and whether or not it's,
This is almost as bad as an idea, like the one I had to make a fidget spinner with a propeller, so you can cool yourself on a on your hot day.
Oh, that is great. It won't spin very long though.
And did you hear about the office gadget, which is a coffee mug that has a Peltier built in and can charge your phone with a heat from a coffee, which you just boiled water with 2 kilowatt in your So actually, it's a patented thing by a girl who won a few years ago. She won just like Youth Google Award. She created the Peltier effect flashlight.
Yes, I remember that. Yep.
So she also did this mug.
Got a scholarship or something for this thing or something.
Yeah. And it's theoretically, and it even says in the description it produces 2.5 milliwatt tops at the start and equalizes after 20 minutes. So, how much light can you get with 2.5 milliwatts? You could probably put 2 AA batteries and run it with that power for like 100 years, or at least till the end life of the battery.
I just posted the link to the Ember Wave, a thermostat for your body, and it's founded at MIT, backed by Bose Ventures and Intel Capital, and they raised $629,000 on Kickstarter for this this watch that just makes your wrist cool or whatever. And
right. So quite often with these things, it's almost as entertaining to go through afterwards and read the reviews about scam, do not touch. Where is my stuff? It's been 6 years and you were meant to get this to me after 6 months.
Yep.
I like the food scanner very much.
Oh God, no.
The tricorder thing.
Here we go. I'm reading some of the comments for this Ember Wave. People who backed it on Kickstarter and got one. I had great hopes for this product, but it just doesn't work. First of all, it's way too big and heavy for my wrist, so I gave up wearing it. So it's a practical thing, and it's just,
Well, it would be. I mean, Peltier devices are bloody high power. Yeah, they suck the. I mean, I don't know. You're into watts, that sort of thing. You're going to need a big ass battery to go with it.
I got here 2 different Peltier elements. This is one from China, the standard 60 watt things. And I don't have specs for this, but I figured out it's more efficient than this. So it's a bit newer. I got this also from eBay. It's 5 volts. I think it's from some industrial application. And
they're very inefficient at low power levels, though.
Yeah.
Like you would use on your wrist and stuff like that, because the actual coefficient of performance they can actually use as actually heat pumps. So the coefficient of performance is quite large. You can see the graph. You read the data sheet. Coefficient
can be above 100%.
Drops. Yeah, as it actually drops way below 1 when at low power levels. It's just, they just don't do that well. So people try and use these things for, where they weren't intended. It's just nuts. They're very inefficient.
But, with all those Kickstarters and stuff like Ubeam, you said, Dave, that one of those guys said that he just had fun working, doing some cool stuff with someone else's money.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of those projects go like that. And one of the videos you Thunderfoot did a quick look through the hyperloops that are being created over the world. And I think it's not really that people are, I don't believe these people are trying to create Hyperloop, because there is a Hyperloop Poland project right now, and they acquired like $500,000 a few years ago. And if you look through their updates on their web page, they just go from one conference to other conference, and basically they do nothing, no research, no development, but the money has been granted. And I think maybe a lot of those projects like Hyperloop popping up everywhere in the world is just that, a way to get some share of this hype, few bucks, and in few years just move to another project.
If you want to know about the mechanisms of how these companies get the money that they do, get the backing, even though they're just like totally implausible, I just posted a link. Read this guy. This is the former, as I said, the former vice president of technology at that Ubeam company, and he does this blog like explaining. There's many ones like explaining
venture capital. The venture capital are always looking for something that might get loads of return.
Actually,
it turns into a unicorn. It's called a unicorn is $1 billion valuation company. So they're all chasing unicorns. Is the industry phrase.
Hyperloop Poland is actually got a little bit political because when the Hyperloop craze started, our prime minister said that in one of the interviews that actually he thought about this thing like Hyperloop 10 years before Elon Musk did.
I mean, 100 years ago, people.
Well, we know that, but you know, he was so proud and publicly was bragging that he invented this technology like 15 years ago. So he's better than Elon Musk. Yeah.
Well, there are people that invented it 100 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Elon Musk tunnel thing, it just made the news here because apparently he was talking to somebody here and some politician here, and we've got these mountains just west of Sydney here, the Blue Mountains, and they want a tunnel right through the Blue Mountains and have, and Elon Musk said, oh yeah, you can do it for X amount of dollars, and I was gonna do a video on it, but oh geez, I don't know. Yeah, it's just spreading. Like, and they still, say, oh, it's 1/10 the cost of tunneling, and it's bullshit, and it's spread here to Australia, and there's actual
it's spread everywhere. I mean, there is scarcely, there's whatever, India, Central Europe, they're proposing them goddamn everywhere, and for me, I think
no Hyperloop Germany. No Hyperloop Germany, as far as I'm aware.
Actually,
it impedes the freedom of a driver when he's in a tunnel. It's not really working for us.
No speed limit.
Yeah, no speed limit on the autobahn and all that shit.
I mean, we don't even have a proper internet, so I think we have to
yeah.
The funny thing about the tunnel that they want to go through the mountains here is that it joins two shitholes. Like, it's like, why would you travel from one shithole to the other? All the good stuff's on the top of the mountain. It's not, like, it's just pointless. But yeah, it spreads, and politicians take this shit seriously, and they start putting these proposals out there, and
oh, if they get to put their name on it. But, I mean, for me, the ultimate barometer for whether it's bullshit or not is the glossier the computer graphics,
the
more likely it is to be bullshit. Because don't need computer graphics if you've got something that works. And this is the thing. When you take a look at the best that the Hyperloop has delivered and compare it to the graphics,
no, it's nothing. It's just bullshit. The Elon Musk big Tesla battery storage system here in Australia. South Australia famously had our blackouts, and they installed the world's biggest Tesla battery pack here to stabilize the grid. I'm actually researching, doing a video on that at the moment. It turns out that it's actually viable. They have actually already saved money. It's paid for itself because it cost $40 million to build it or something, and they've already saving $20 million a year or $30 million a year in costs of having this backup generator ready that they had to have. So it's actually paid for itself. So yeah, I'm doing the research on this. I'm reading the paper about it and the results after having it installed for a year, and it actually surprisingly works. It doesn't mean it's the future of grid storage.
There's a gazillion ways of storing stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly. But in terms of stopping the grid failing, because all the lines trip and everything because of overloads, because there was a huge storm, took the power lines down, and that caused a cascading, ripple takedown of the grid in South Australia here, and and having this immediate backup that can come on within 0.1 of a second or something is incredibly valuable, and it stops the grid falling. But it's not used as an energy storage on a daily basis. It's there as a backup. But yeah, it paid for itself. So
yeah, but
fair enough.
Energy. Well, what we use in Germany a lot is energy storage by pumping water up a hill.
Yeah, good if you've got hills.
Yeah,
great if you've got hills.
Yeah,
there's this one where they do trains. They actually have a train up a hill, and you load it with, it's full of, bricks or something. I don't know, just a big heavy train, and you use the energy during the day to pull it back up, to winch it up to the top of the hill, and during the night it slowly goes downhill and generates, a constant amount of energy. It's not a bad idea. I don't know how practical it is though, but it sounds, there's tons of ideas like that.
I heard about the project of using gravity in shafts you for your house. So you dig a 10-20 meter shaft, but when I did some calculations on that, it turns that if you would have 2 tons of junk just going 20 meters up and down, it's it's no energy compared to what you pull from a grid to make to boil water.
But once you start talking about, a cubic kilometer of water or something.
Yeah, I agree that for water, how do you call it?
Water storage.
But yeah, okay. So
the head is the height of the water. The head.
Yeah, I understand that it by the volume of water you can pump during the day, that's okay. But for a house, I'm just currently building a house and considering ways maybe to store energy from solar panels, but probably will not do it.
Well, I've done a video on that because I've got a solar system on my roof. I've been monitoring for 5 or 6 years now, and I did a video on the calculations of whether or not it would pay me to install a $10,000 battery system, because they're quite expensive here, because they're not subsidized in any way. And I did the numbers and I went, nah, it's a 20-year payback or something, even with the expensive power that we have here. It's just,
Well, I'm considering stuff maybe not only by a bug and maybe some, I don't know, ecology, if you say so, if I can call it like that. So, but yeah, basically, if you consider how much carbon dioxide is produced in producing the batteries, it's probably also not going to be a environmental return.
Yeah, I could get a return, just a financial return on a home energy storage system if I had an electric car that would, and I used it, it stored energy during the day and I recharge it at night and stuff like that. Maybe, it might pay back for itself, but yeah, it's highly circumstance dependent.
Well, actually, in my country, the regulations for solar energy, what you can take back from the grid are very favorable, because if you have
it's hugely dependent on where you are, though. I mean, some people, some countries give you nothing for putting energy back into the grid.
Yep.
Yeah, so in Poland you can, if you have non-commercial installation for up to 10 kilowatts, you can take back all you put in with just some minor transport fee or whatever it's called. So basically, if you have the array large enough, you have almost zero energy.
The government here went crazy. The state I'm in, and they had a 60-cent payback for a feed-in tariff for solar. So everyone put solar cells on their roof. So now Australia is one of the highest per capita of people who have solar panels installed. It's 30% of the country have solar panels here. It's huge. It's enormous. And they'll pay it back 60 cents. So we buy it at like 20 or 25, and you could sell it back to the grid at 60, and that lasted for like 5 years. And people were making money. Like their bills would drop to zero, and they were actually making money buying all this energy back in the grid. But it was all government subsidized, so it all came from the taxpayer. And as soon as it ended, oops, their bills. They started to have to pay bills again. It was but the government, they just had to stop it because the take up was so huge. It was costing the government billions.
Yeah, and, but it is a viable solution for Australia, isn't it? The solar power.
The solar is pretty good.
Yeah, but it's a grid storage.
During the day, yeah. And
because
since we're on the subject of solar power, have you heard about the idea because it's actually invented by a colleague of mine from university, Perovskite crystals, which I don't know if I pronounce it well. And it's a way to produce crystals of some sort that are used for solar cells, but they are produced, you don't have to grow them like silicon.
Perovskites.
Yes, yeah, all right, that's the pronunciation. What do you think about it? Is it really going to happen?
All I know is that the next big thing in solar, everyone talks about those in solar research. Apparently, you can just paint them on, and they're pretty decent. I don't know too much about the details.
I've got those here. I've done a video on that. These are ones that you print with an inkjet printer.
You can print them,
and you print them in any length, so you can make curtains out of them, and you can make all sorts of things. And their performance is pretty piss poor. But they're kind of cool in that they're completely flexible, and you can actually manufacture them as wide as you want.
Supposedly, manufacturing costs are like 10% of.
It's like it's really low, but the actual performance of them is really low too, like compared to a proper highly efficient rooftop panel.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering if there is a space for them. I know you cover whole office building top to bottom. You don't worry about the angle of the panels and just slightly increasing the cost of the building.
Yeah, but I think you'll find that just a proper, because the commercial grade solar panels are just so cheap now. You're better off putting them on the roof and angling them,
tracking the sun,
and not even tracking, but just angling them optimally is going to beat plastering the entire building, all four sides and the roof on with some magic printable solar panel or something. It's just because the performance isn't going to match a proper commercial one on the roof. It's just so, and they're so cheap. If you've looked at the graph, the US government produced these yearly reports that show like the cost of solar cell manufacture and all that sort of stuff, and it's asymptoting towards almost free.
What was the thing about the neutron implantation in the thingy, so you can break off like super thin wafers? There was something sketchy going on about that, wasn't there?
Oh, I did a video about that Rayton Solar.
Yeah.
Rayton Solar. It was backed by Bill Nye, the science guy.
Yeah, because the technology itself seemed pretty okay, but there was sketchy stuff going on, wasn't there?
It's sketchy stuff. It was this startup who had the idea of these wafer thin, really ridiculously thin, ultra thin layers, solar panel layers or whatever. And as it turns out, like you can't make them so thin. There's a minimum thickness you can actually make them because of they penetrate in some way. I can't remember the details, but
cleave planes. Yeah.
And it was like I did a video on that. The company's just gonna.
Oh yeah, sure. They need some thickness, otherwise it's not gonna absorb.
They need to be at least 1 atom thick.
Yeah.
So there is a minimum thickness for solar panels to work, and there's an online calculator that you can just whack it in, and it shows you the graph in real time of how it, of the efficiency versus or whatever, something like that.
Speaking about calculations, I just did the calculations on how the ratio of uranium isotope concentration changes because of gravity. So it turns out that with a 1 meter column, the ratio changes by about 12 parts per million.
That's measurable.
So if you go for 2 meters, let's see, you get 23. It's exponential.
23 parts per million, right?
Yeah.
So in principle, yeah, I mean, you just chop the column in two, right? Whatever. You just have a big column with a tap in the middle, and then you close the tap in the middle. You measure the top, you measure the bottom, and if you can measure parts per billion,
yeah,
you're in
so
luck.
essentially, the ratio goes from 0.992745 to, well, where is it? 0.997, well, 277. Yeah.
Now I'm going to guess you did that for your. Did you actually do that for the tetrachloride?
I did that for the tetrachloride, yeah.
Oh, fantastic!
Actually, the uranium-free chloride. Is that the tetrachloride?
That's close enough.
Trichloride,
It's the tetrachloride, but one chlorine's not going to make any difference.
I mean, I can just change a number here and then get everything.
Yeah, so uranium.
It's actually better. It's a part per billion better. So.
Okay, cool. Anyway, guys, it's getting late here, so
cool.
Good night.
I ought to wrap this all up.
Thanks, Phil.
It's been great seeing you all again.
No worries.
Yeah. Look.
More debunking videos coming. So you got the results from the survey or whatever, and debunking came out on top.
Oh god. Yes. People like the debunking, and second was kind of the sciencey type stuff.
Right. Yep. That's how I'd rank it as well. Like the science stuff's cool, but there's so few people doing debunkings that, you know.
And so much to debunk.
And people like drama.
Endless. I know.
But I mean,
Cool.
for me, there's part of it. I like doing the science stuff because at least that gives you you feel like you've done something rather than. It gets depressing otherwise. Anyway, guys, it's been great seeing you all again.
Thanks, Phil.
Bye.
See you, Reg.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Adios.